Clouds, snow, and flurries with little or no accumulation on Friday, the high 33. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Flurries in 34 at O'Hare, 37 Midway, 33 in Aurora, light snow at DuPage Airport, 34. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
It's Uncle Sam, and he wants some of your retirement money. Like it or not, you're going to owe taxes on your 401k. The good news is you may be able to reduce your tax bill with some strategic planning. Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions are here to help. You'll work together to craft a plan that's designed to help make sure you don't pay a penny more than you should. Taxes are historically low right now, and we all know they probably won't remain this low forever, so call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team before this tax-saving opportunity is gone. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. It's time to preserve the retirement you deserve without giving more than necessary to your favorite uncle. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to schedule your 401k tax review. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not give tax advice.
Are you looking for fair news coverage out of the nation's capital? Join the Center Square's Editor-in-Chief Dan McCaleb and DC Bureau Chief Casey Harper as they discuss all things coming out of Washington, D.C.
And as you said, I did a fact check on this because I really found it pretty misleading. Gas prices, yes, are down. But if you look at food prices, they increased.
No spin, just the news. Listen to the America in Focus podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
The holidays are a perfect time to treat yourself to an exceptional meal out, a truly delicious fine dining experience where you savor every bite. This is what you can expect at Region Kitchen and Bar in Barrington, home of some of the finest quality regional American food in the northwestern suburbs. Chef David Perlick is very passionate about pleasing the palate. His field and stream menu includes juicy USDA prime steak, flown-in fresh seafood, and an amazing array of house-made desserts. The craft cocktails are exactly what you're reaching for. Region's vibe is upscale yet relaxing with tufted velvet boots, Wisconsin birch accents, white leather, and super comfy dining chairs. Celebrate the season dining in style. Make a reservation and check out the menu at regionrestaurant.com. From now through the end of the year, purchase a $100 gift card and receive a bonus $25 gift card for yourself. Region Kitchen and Bar, 2 miles west of downtown Barrington on Route 14. regionrestaurant.com.
Attention American homeowners, you're under attack. Your home and equity could be vulnerable to cyber thieves. There's only one company that completely stops them, and that company is Equity Protect. Equity Protect prevents any attempts to steal your home, equity, and ownership 24/7. Get your free risk report today by texting the word HOME to 94878. That's right, text the word HOME to 94878 to get your free risk report. Keep your equity and legacy safe with Equity Protect.
Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gay Vallis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The ballots have been cast. The votes have been counted. And the PolitiFact lie of the year goes to...
Wait for it.
Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for their false claims, allegedly, that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio were eating pet dogs and cats. Thank you, PolitiFact, because...
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else.
I still want Kipnis to perform at the inauguration.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa. Sing it with us in repudiation of PolitiFact, which is one of these, phony sites that pretends to be objective, which really just is in service of left-wing lies.
Exactly.
Maybe Kipnis can make a song about that.
Of all the lies that the Democrats have told, that's the lie of the year.
Yeah, I like where he goes low here. Yeah, it's a good remix. Yeah, that's the lie of the year according to PolitiFact. Now, you know what they say, well, it was consequential, it was absurd.
It wasn't absurd.
There was such outrage because it was a handle for saying, we have let some savages into this country.
Yep.
Not everybody who comes to this country, of course, but that we have let some savages into this country. And that's the reality that the left didn't want to confront, still doesn't want to confront. It's very much akin to the Kamala Harris-Brett Baier interview, where Baier pressed her on whether or not she'd like to apologize to the mother of Jocelyn Ungary, that 12-year-old girl who was raped and murdered in Houston. And she, I'm sorry that happened, but there's no personal culpability for opening the jails, opening the borders, and allowing savages to prey on people. That's what they were afraid of. That's why there was such performative outrage. Oh, that's not. And they wanted to get into a debate about who was or wasn't eating cats and dogs in Springfield and elsewhere. And that wasn't the point. The point was, you have allowed people into this country who are animals. And that's true. Checkmark true. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, as well as the turnkey.pro text line. And just in case you needed an updating, which you really don't, let's go to Aurora, Colorado, another hot spot from a small community. And here is Police Chief Ted Chamberlain explaining what happened in a couple apartment complexes that were taken over by Tren de Aragua gangbangers, savages, people here illegally.
I want to break down an event that occurred last night, and I think without question it has national attention based on the circumstances of where the event actually occurred and based upon the incidences that have been in the city of Aurora in the past in and around this same location. Last night, right at about 8:45 p.m. At 1258 Dallas Street, victims, it was a male and a female, they were accosted by approximately 13 to 15 armed individuals. 13 of those were males, and 3 of those were possibly females at this time, is what we were thinking. They were taken to an adjoining apartment complex against their will at that same Dallas complex, and they ended up at 1268 Dallas. Again, this was the same complex, same area. The victims were held against their will. They were actually bound, both the male and the female. They were pistol whipped, they were beat, they were victimized, they were terrorized. During this entire process, some of the suspects left that apartment complex at 1268 Dallas and went over to the victim's apartment, which is located at 1258 Dallas, and actually burglarized and took over that apartment and took out about items of value that belonged to our victims. And subsequently, they came back. Right around 1:50 in the morning, our victims, with communication and with courage, basically informed the suspects that they would not notify the police if they were released, and could they please be released. Our victims were subsequently released. They left at a complex right around 1:50. They went to their vehicle, and they drove to a friend's house located in another area of the city of Aurora. Once at that location, the victims notified the police right at about 02:27. I think that is something that is truly amazing. These individuals that are the victims, at this point it appears that they are immigrants that came, again, with the Venezuelan community that was brought here. The fact that they stepped forward, I think it shows, again, the incredible amount of courage that they had. Unfortunately, when you look at this type of activity, especially when you consider all of the individuals involved in this are most likely Venezuelan, most of them are without question or most likely, we believe at this point, undocumented or immigrants to the city of Aurora.
Or illegal immigrants.
Again, unfortunately, these individuals, like many gangs and many individuals involved in this type of activity, they victimize their own race and their own ethnicity. And the reason they do that is because they are easy victims. Because they know, because of their status, they will not come forward to the police. They know that they can mistreat them. They know that they can do things to them that they couldn't do to anybody else in the community based upon their fear of what the ramifications would be if law enforcement gets involved in that.
Right. And so what we've said many times before, people that these savages that we've allowed into this country who prey on Americans and who also prey on other migrants who are otherwise law-abiding. Who's standing up for them? Trump, Tom Homan. That's who's standing up for that couple that was victimized in Aurora, Colorado. It's not these sentimental barbarians and their savage friends. It is Trump and Tom Homan and the border security guys.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line. I mean, this is where was this police chief from Aurora before the election? Why was he quiet before? And now all of a sudden he feels free to speak his mind. That's what I thought.
Todd Chamberlain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of heard from the mayor of Aurora, Colorado. It wasn't the sort of response. It wasn't as aggressive as a response as you would expect with the kind of lawlessness that essentially the federal government has imposed on that town, at least in several apartment complexes. And I know it's only a few.
It's just a few.
Remember this famous exchange, and it speaks to this larger point about trying to paper over these animals that were invited into this country to prey on people. J.D. Vance and Martha Raddatz on Aurora, Colorado.
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Yeah, I'm glad that he did, too. But in addition to calling it out, this is where, I mean, I know Tom Homan was in town last week saying Chicago's ground zero. How about going to the small towns that have been overrun, that don't have the resources, that are otherwise inclined to be cooperative? Maybe Aurora, Colorado is not sufficiently cooperative. Maybe there'll be pressure on Aurora, Colorado officials to be more cooperative. But certainly in Springfield, Ohio, and Charleroi, Pennsylvania, you have, and other places too, Logansport, Indiana, in Wisconsin. Yeah. Let's go there because, you know, you want to demonstrate substantive progress as quickly as possible. And bringing federal resources to bear in those small towns will get the sort of progress people are demanding much more quickly than you'll see in New York City or Chicago.
They put them in small towns so they don't have TV stations or newspapers. I'm telling you, I will never forget one of the last press conferences I went to with Pritzker. I said, we have 102 other counties. Why are you not dispersing the illegals? And he didn't create a Springfield because he knew that we'd be on to him. He knew that the people in a small town, if you put in, 15,000 Haitians, would be like, whoa, what's going on? And Chamberlain spoke to the White House about this.
It was a male and a female. They were accosted by approximately 13 to 15 armed individuals. They were pistol whipped, they were beat, they were mistreated. One of the male was actually stabbed, he had a stab wound. So does that fall in the category of torture for me? Yeah, it does. There is a high assumption that they may be affiliated with the TDA gang. I had a discussion with an individual from the White House. And that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about.
There you go.
Yep, but I want to know what White House official he talked to.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the message from the Biden White House. You hear from local law enforcement. And so that couple, migrants, who were kidnapped and tortured and burglarized, those are the consequences. Those are the consequences of the policies of the left, and that's what Trump needs to. This is where Trump's vengeance can be visited swiftly, and his vengeance is making places like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, and Charleroi, Pennsylvania, and Whitewater, Wisconsin, safe again. Coming up at 5:38, we'll stick on this topic because we got that border wall materials fire sale going on in Tucson today, 5:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
33 degrees, some light snow flurries in the area. Members of the House Intelligence Committee have received a classified briefing about the drone activity over New Jersey and New York. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley, highly critical of the FBI and DHS over the secretive nature of the briefings.
They do not want to talk about this in public. They don't want to answer questions about it. This is really weird, and it's getting weirder.
Law enforcement officials have said the drones do not appear to be a threat. Reps from the FBI, CIA, and the National Intelligence Agency were at that briefing. Luigi Mangione faces murder and terror charges in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg detailing what's expected to happen next.
The defendant is currently scheduled to appear in court in Pennsylvania on Thursday morning first for a preliminary hearing on his Pennsylvania charges. Immediately to follow that will be an extradition hearing.
Mangione may be waiving his right to an extradition hearing. He's accused of gunning down Thompson on a Manhattan street earlier this month. Police in Madison, Wisconsin say the motive of the 15-year-old female school shooter was a combination of factors. A teacher and student at Abundant Life Christian School were killed Monday. Impact Christian School's executive director, Chuck Moore, thanked the community for their support at a vigil last night.
We're so grateful for this outpouring of love for this community.
A student and teacher are dead. 6 more were hurt. The shooter identified again as a 15-year-old. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to cut interest rates once again when it announces its latest decision today. 2 NASA astronauts who have been stuck on the International Space Station will have to stay there through March. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore flew to the ISS on the Boeing Starliner, and a shaky first test flight in June has trapped them there. Prosecutors appear to be close to resting their case in the Michael Madigan racketeering trial. Once the state rests, defense attorneys will get a chance to call their own witnesses. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Corcoran's attorneys made one last pitch to delay the execution just before midnight.
We would ask the governor to grant clemency to Joe Corcoran. He has schizophrenia. He's seriously mentally ill. The states surrounding Indiana either don't allow for execution at all, or they bar the execution of people with serious mental illness.
However, Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb recently said he stands by his decision. Right now, there are 7 other prisoners currently on death row in Indiana. Cook County's former top prosecutor has lost her license to practice law. The Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission says Kim Fox's law license was suspended December 1st because she failed to complete continuing legal education requirements. And demolition is underway on the near south side on a building that previously housed the E2 nightclub, where 21 died in a stampede in 2003.
This is also a part of Chicago's history, and we feel like these 21 lives should be honored.
Crews began tearing down the 2-story building yesterday. The Blackhawks scored 3 third-period goals in a 3-2 win over the Capitals at the United Center last night. Cubs part ways with Cody Bellinger, sending him and his $27.5 million contract to the Bronx in a trade with the Yankees. College basketball last night, DePaul crushed by St. John's 89-61. The news a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka explains his duty.
This is a very different Trump administration. Whoever he brings in, whichever portfolio they're given, whether it's people at a lower rank like myself running counterterrorism in the White House, we will be executing the vision, the America First platform, the MAGA agenda of the man chosen.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
$20 million. No, it's not the national debt. It's the buying spree at Fox Valley Coins. And it's on from now until Thanksgiving. It's really the perfect storm. Gold and silver are at historic levels. Fox Valley Coins has a huge order to fill with one of their national clients. And September through Thanksgiving is always when coin dealers stock up for Christmas sales. They are especially looking for the old collector coins like silver dollars, all 1700s through early 1900s coins. All kinds of gold, from broken jewelry to gold bars to the old coins, U.S. and foreign. All kinds of silver, from sterling silverware to old coins and bars to Franklin Mint items. They can pay cash or check and make house calls on larger deals prior to Thanksgiving. Fox Valley Coins, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. They'll make free, no-obligation offers. Make that 20,000,001 reasons to go to Fox Valley Coins now. They give free in-store offers on your items.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
It's 5:40, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Let's get an update on the roads, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify, AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Outbound on the Ike, you're jammed up due to overnight construction cleanup between Mannheim and the Tri-State. Jane Addams, bad accident involving a semi, now fully on the right shoulder, westbound after Briar Hill Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Flurries, cloudy, breezy, and a high of 35. 25 overnight, clouds and sun, 34 tomorrow. 33 right now, 35 at Midway, 33 at O'Hare. And your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, America First with Sebastian Gorka. Weekday afternoons at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So this story broke a few days ago, and the fire sale is today. So if you're looking for steel and other component parts of, say, a border wall, you may want to head over to Tucson. They got a big Everything Must Go sale, courtesy of the Biden administration. Fox News Channel reporting.
Literally football fields of border wall that is getting ready to be sold tomorrow. It is still arriving this morning at this auction site in Tucson. Flatbed trucks. The backstory, as you mentioned, is when President Trump left office, taxpayers had already paid for hundreds of miles of wall, ready to go in the ground. But President Biden stopped it because he didn't think immigration was an emergency. So he sold it to a private company for pennies on the dollar as scrap. And you're looking at it now, scheduled to go on sale tomorrow. President Trump is now trying to stop that, likely so we can buy it back.
They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars.
So Trump needs the steel, of course, to finish roughly another 200, 250 miles of wall. Now, CBP kept some of the panels themselves back in Texas, and Texas is using some of it, but millions of tons Biden sold for scrap through this government-contracted website. That is drawing anger on Capitol Hill, where Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt says the Defense Department unloaded 16,000 pounds in a single lot of steel fence for $105. That's less than 0.2% of what taxpayers paid for.
It's a good deal.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line.
Trump said of the administration trying to sell these materials for 5 cents on the dollar, it's almost a criminal act. That's what he said. Ted Cruz was on with Hannity, and he went further. He took the almost out of the description.
What the Biden administration is doing is brazen. Understand, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they are filled with rage, and they hate Donald Trump. We know that. But they hate the voters. They are angry at the voters for how the American people voted on Election Day. And they are trying with bitterness to do everything to frustrate the will of the voters. So on the pardons, they're trying to do everything they can to frustrate the administration of justice. And I got to say, on the question of selling off the border wall, this is one of the most offensive things I've ever seen. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you're a sheriff, you're an elected sheriff, and you get beat. You get beaten, so there's a new sheriff coming into office. And let's say you have 10 squad cars that are $50,000 apiece. And in your last week in office, you decide, I'm going to sell all the squad cars for $100 each because I hate the sheriff that beat me, and I want to make sure the new sheriff has no squad cars. Let me tell you what that is. That is theft of government resources. And let me be very clear to every official at the Department of Homeland Security or anywhere else who approves selling off incredibly expensive portions of the border wall for $5 apiece. You are engaged in theft of government property, and you should expect the Department of Justice to investigate you and prosecute you. This is a brazen abuse of power, and it reflects the views of this White House and Democrats across the board.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Boy, another target group for criminal investigation, possibly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could see Cruz's point about theft of government property. Probably it's, I mean, without getting too deep into the legal technicalities, probably sovereign immunities, policy decision. They have the right to sell. There's a process by which the government can sell off property it's acquired. But the nature of this is wildly cynical. And
it's a big middle finger on the way out.
There could be. Yeah, I understand. That's true. There's no question. That's true. But in addition to the fact that, in addition to that, the question about whether there is criminal exposure, that's an interesting one. I'd certainly applaud Pam Bondi if she wanted to explore it. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, if they wanted to explore whether or not this runs afoul of any federal law and prosecute those if it does. Prosecute those responsible if it does. I'm certainly open-minded on the topic.
Right, but let's just start. I mean, President or soon-to-be President Trump said he called on President Biden to please stop selling the wall. So don't have that sale today in Tucson.
Stop eating the pets and stop selling the border wall materials. Stop selling the border wall materials. And Kifnis, there's another possible song for Kifnis. Stop selling the border wall.
The wall. Well, no, you can't.
You're gonna have to. Yeah, that's the. If you do the meow 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 bow wow wow for every remix, it's gonna get tired.
Oh, but it's just in your head and you can't get rid of it.
Bob and Waukegan.
Yeah, probably President Trump or the administration somehow should buy back all the wall it can at pennies on the dollar, so at least we are not screwed through that. But
well, I mean, just on that point, I mean, you did have Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick essentially offer to buy it all up and then just give it back to the administration. You know, I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking, but the whole thing is so embarrassing, and it speaks to the phoniness of this peaceful, friendly transition of power and so on and so forth that we kept getting lectured about after 2020.
Oh, yeah, it's all infuriating. If I were President Trump, I would come out and say, you know what, if your business is involved in profiting from this, I'm going to have the IRS put their proctoscope so far up your rectum, you'll never get out of IRS hell for the next how many ever years Republicans are in office. That'll stop it. Forensic IRS audits every year for the next 15 years.
All right. Thanks for the call, Bob. It's an interesting thought. You know, although this idea that they're giving the middle finger to the American people, not just the Trump administration, but to the American people. I mean, that just doesn't square with what we heard at the DNC Kwanzaa celebration the other day. It was all very hopey and changey and optimistic.
Our spirit is not defeated. We are not defeated. Let's be clear about that. We are strong. We are clear about why we are in this. And because you're here right now, I say, again, thank you, because not only are you clear about all of that, you're willing to put in the hard work.
Oh, God.
And that work must continue.
It must.
We cannot let any circumstance or situation or individual ever take away our power.
Oh, there we go. My power,
to
my
know
truth.
why we do what we do, and our ability to then get that work done. And especially because we know what we stand for, and that's why we know what to fight for.
Oh, God.
We
know
here
what we
believe in
stand
the promise
for.
of America.
Hey,
We know what to stand for, so we know what to fight for.
We know what we do, and we do the work. What is it? It literally is like a scene from Office Space.
Yeah.
What is it exactly that you do? What is it exactly that you stand for? You won't tell us.
The same with Lori Lightfoot. You got to do the work, and then you'll be accomplished. What?
Oh, I mean, Kamala was in her milieu at that Kwanzaa celebration. I think it was Kwanzaa, I'm assuming. I mean, all of the classics came out. You know, sort of a fire sale with Kamala-isms here at the end of the year, too.
The true test of our commitment is whether, in the face of an obstacle, do we throw up our hands or do we roll up our sleeves?
So powerful.
And as we approach...
Yeah, I said that.
And I ask you to remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
Oh, she's celebrating her word salad.
Oh, she didn't just fall out no coconut tree.
Democrats realizing now why you lost. Hello, is this thing on? Hello.
She is delightful. My favorite, what I'm really going to miss when she is disappeared, what I'm really going to miss is when she says something that is positively quotidian. Do we throw up our hands or do we roll up our sleeves? And she does this pause with the head shake. Like, I just said something so profound, so captivating.
Maybe I'll win next time. Oh, please run. Please run in 2028.
Bob in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking my call. You know, they're building a concrete monolith on the south side of Chicago for Obama. Maybe they should use the steel to build a steel monument to Biden for his library.
There you go. Thanks for the call, Bob.
I mean, how small is that library going to be? Where is it going to be? In Delaware? I thought maybe they'd pass on building him a library.
Rich in Indian Head Park.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. The only thing I can say about all of this is January 20th can't come too soon. I mean, this stuff's got to end.
Well, thanks for the call, Rich. Boy, you're not kidding because, I mean, just in terms of talking again more globally about border security and the job ahead for the Trump administration. Close to, this is from the Center for Immigration Studies, their calculations, close to 8 million illegal immigrants, which is about 56% of the estimated nationwide total. 8 million. That's a little over half of the estimated total. This is how big the job is. But close to 8 million, 56%, live in sanctuary jurisdictions. The estimate in Illinois share, 3.8% of that 8 million, 530,000 illegal immigrants in Illinois.
530,000. Wow.
California is north of 3 million. The estimates represents 22%. New York is 868,000, represents about 6.2%. All these sanctuary jurisdictions, California, Colorado, Connecticut, D.C., Illinois, Massachusetts, Jersey, New York, North Dakota, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Washington. You know, all those border states like Rhode Island and Oregon and North Dakota and Vermont. National problem, which is why I'm so anxious to see Tom Homan and his team get to work. I mean, Tom Homan is the perfect guy to lead this operation. And as I said, when we were talking about the news out of Aurora, Colorado yesterday, start in those small communities where you get cooperation, where bringing federal resources to bear can produce immediate demonstrable results to bring people along, to help make the case for what you're doing, and to build public trust in what you're doing. I think that's the play. But I'm not here to lecture Tom Homan. He knows what he's doing. Greg in Schaumburg.
Hey, Dan and Amy. Question: where is the court system in this? Why aren't Republicans, petitioning a court for injunctions to stop this stuff exactly like Democrats do?
It's a great question. Yeah, thanks for the call. Great question. Why are they not moving to have a federal court enjoin this auction today? Yeah, I agree. In case you've forgotten what the left will do with respect to every policy issue, no matter how squarely it fits within the law and how squarely that law fits within constitutional powers and provisions, they will litigate it. They will litigate it. They're going to try to do everything they can in the courts to slow down the Trump administration because they know, like he knows, he's on a 2-year clock. And it's something that the Republicans have gotten better at. But this is a good example of a blind spot, right? I mean, there's still time, I suppose. But you would think with all these attorneys like Ted Cruz weighing in and attorneys general like Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas, somebody would move to do that, particularly if you believe, as Ted Cruz articulated, that what these federal officials are doing rises to the level of criminality. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
You stink. I think you're going to have a good Christmas, all right? You smell like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
On AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson here to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign. We've partnered with Food for the Poor once again to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're talking about a part of the world that continues to suffer from the effects of economic destruction and decline, political corruption, instability, gangs, high prices for food. Families are forced to skip meals for days at a time because they simply can't afford to buy food. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners. Food for the Poor needs your help. Right now, thanks to a generous match, for one-time gift of $100, you can provide life-saving food for 2 children for an entire year. And it helps their community to gain access to water, or consider a gift of giving $200, which would provide life-saving food for 4 children for the entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673 or go to 560theanswer.com. Just simply click on the Give Life banner at the top of the website.
This is Carol Platt, Liebau for townhall.com. Last week, the White House announced Joe Biden will commute the sentences of almost 1,500 criminals and pardon 39 others. It's the most commutations and clemencies ever granted in a single day. It's an abuse of the pardon power. Above all, many of Biden's commutations look like an ugly, obscene gesture to the country that elevated him to its highest position. They include a judge convicted of taking kickbacks to send minors to for-profit detention facilities, resulting in one young man committing suicide. Another recipient of clemency committed the largest municipal fraud in U.S. history. Others include Chinese spies and someone convicted of possessing child pornography. Only those with a deep and abiding hostility to America and a deep disrespect for its justice system could ever propose and approve such offenders for commutation. Shame on them all, and shame on Joe Biden.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, on the matter of Republicans using the courts appropriately, I do want to take notice of Trump suing Ann Seltzer and the Des Moines Register for that phony poll they put out the weekend before the election under the consumer fraud law in the state of Iowa. That's very interesting. I do like that. So Trump is not averse to it. He maybe just needs some advice and counsel about this border wall material sell-off today.
What are the damages? He won the election. Well, we can talk about it later. All right, let's go into the newsroom now. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Demolition begins at the site of the former E2 nightclub. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Murder and terrorism. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. The man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione, is indicted in New York City.
One count of murder in the second degree is an act of terrorism.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg.
The statutory elements we can go into, but its most basic term, that's what this is. This was not an ordinary killing.
He says Mangione's due in court tomorrow morning for a hearing about sending him back to New York from Pennsylvania, where he was taken into custody. The 15-year-old girl who police say shot 8 people, killing 2 at her Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin, had joined a shooting range this year with her dad, according to a post of his on social media. A motive for the murder-suicide is still being worked out. Police say there may be a combination of factors. A teacher and student are dead.
We're so grateful for this outpouring of love for this community.
Impact Christian Schools Executive Director Chuck Moore at a vigil last night. 2 of the 6 people wounded are in critical condition. 1 person is dead, 9 hurt in a mass shooting near a funeral home in Towson, Maryland.
The individuals in this case somehow knew one another, and that this incident was intentional and targeted.
Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough says there are no arrests yet. There was also a burning vehicle on its side at the scene. Congressional leaders announced an agreement on a spending bill, including disaster aid and other measures to avoid a partial government shutdown Saturday.
Several House Republicans say the process for crafting a government funding package has not been a member-driven process. With growing frustration towards House Speaker Mike Johnson, some haven't committed to supporting him on the House floor in January when he tries to be reelected Speaker.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz in D.C. Funding in the bill runs through March 14th at current levels. After a meeting about it, Missouri House Republican Eric Burleson calls the bill a total dumpster fire. America's listening to Fox News.
Light snow showers and 33 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Corcoran's attorney made one last pitch to delay the execution just before midnight.
We would ask the governor to grant clemency to Joe Corcoran. He has schizophrenia. He's seriously mentally ill. The states surrounding Indiana either don't allow for execution at all, or they bar the execution of people with serious mental illness.
Corcoran was pronounced dead around 12:45 this morning. His former wife was at the prison.
I just want the governor to take into consideration that Joseph is very mentally ill, and by another person's death, it's not going to change the past, but it can change the future.
Right now, there are 7 other prisoners currently on death row in Indiana. One person is recovering after a car fire inside a Trump Tower parking garage. The blaze took place yesterday on the 6th floor of that garage. Attorney General Kwame Raoul and the FTC are reaching a $25 million settlement with Grubhub. The Chicago-based online food ordering company agreed to the payout to settle claims of deceptive business practices that harm customers and delivery drivers. Demolition is underway on the near south side on a building that previously housed the E2 nightclub, where 21 died in a stampede in 2003.
This is also a part of Chicago's history, and we feel like these 21 lives should be honored.
The property along the city's historic and protected Motor Row has been vacant since the tragedy at the E2 nightclub. A Northwest Indiana official is accused of harassment and receiving ghost payments. Former Gary employee says Parks Director Lavetta Sparks-Wade harassed her during her time working at that department. The one-time worker also says Sparks-Wade received payments for a summer youth coordinator position that she did not work. Sparks-Wade refused to respond to questions about the allegations. Blackhawks, a 3-2 win over the Capitals at the United Center. Cubs part ways with Cody Bellinger, sending him to the Bronx in a trade with the Yankees. College baskets, DePaul crushed by St. John's, 89-61, and Valparaiso fell to Ohio State, 95-73. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a party. Join us for our inauguration celebration on January 20th at Saddle Up Q in Aurora. Enjoy a brunch buffet with AM 560 listeners as we watch the inauguration of President Trump. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/Trump47. That's 560theanswer.com/Trump47.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brent Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home in Florida. Now, while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brent's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. Brent became a T4 paraplegic. Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows severely injured heroes like Brett to live more independently. We hope you'll donate $11 a month so this great work can continue. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. Priority Gold. Trust our team of proven professionals to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/gold for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings, no matter what the economic climate. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit PriorityGold.com/gold to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have medical PPO insurance, you can find out how you can save 90% on average. To get that smile back, check if you qualify. Almostfreeteeth.com. Ike inbound. Accident, 2 right lanes blocked. It's inbound, Elmhurst, between York Road and St. Charles. Tri-State disabled vehicle off on the right-hand side, northbound, right at 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
A few flurries this morning, otherwise clouds and breezy. A couple of slick spots early. High today 35. Cloudy tonight, low 25. Partly sunny day tomorrow, the high at 34. Clouds, snow, and flurries with little or no accumulation on Friday, the high 33. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
33 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer
Merry Christmas.
on AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. If someone would have told me you didn't need an active law license to run for Cook County State's attorney, I would have run.
I know. What is she going to do with her life?
It looks like they're going to have to delay renaming Southern Illinois University's law school the Kim Fox School of Law, because if you haven't heard, Kim Fox, according to the ARDC, has not fulfilled the minimum continuing legal education requirements to maintain an active law license. Therefore, she is unauthorized to practice law because she is non-compliant. I mean, could the end of Kim Fox be any more fitting?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, or you can also text us on that same line. And you do not have to type in DA, just type in your comment.
This I believe this is also going to end up delaying the announcement of her newly formed firm with Lionel Hutz. You remember Lionel Hutz. He's an accomplished trial lawyer, just as Kim Fox is an accomplished prosecutor. She's basically the Lionel Hutz of prosecutors.
I move for a bad court thingy.
You mean a mistrial?
Yeah. That's why you're the judge and I'm the law-talking guy.
The law-talking lawyers, Lionel Hutz and Kim Fox. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. BLM Brandon Johnson, your mayor, our mayor, City of Chicago. He doesn't pay his water bills. Can't figure out how to do that, even though he's making good bank at as a flack for the Chicago Teachers Union.
He's Teachers Union, and he was a Cook County commissioner, and still could not pay his $3,000 water bill. He didn't pay it for a year, Dan, and he also did not pay his red light camera tickets, which now
Well,
we
he
have
has
more red light cameras.
Well, he's got a black wife and 3 black kids at home that he's raising, and that's expensive, especially the wife. So we got somebody who can't pay their bills. He's your mayor. We got somebody that can't maintain an active law license. She was your Cook County State's attorney for 8 years.
We have a CTU president who can't pay her water bills either. Stacey Davis Gates, don't forget about that.
We have a governor who was born with a silver shovel in his mouth, who committed property tax fraud.
Oh, yeah, right, because he took out every toilet in his mansion in the Gold Coast to avoid paying property taxes. Then he made his wife go with a check to the Cook County building and pay it
Well,
out.
right, because what he did is he made his wife the fall guy.
Right.
Because he's a real man. So this is your kakistocracy. How do you think it's going? Pretty well? Pretty well? By the way, we need to fold Pritzker into this conversation about Chicago and Cook County because he has assiduously separated himself, despite the fact he's a resident of Chicago, assiduously separated himself from anything having to do with Chicago or Cook County, because if he has to talk about Brandon Johnson or Kim Foxx, he's in a no-win situation. But they're a troika. Remember, those three, that three-headed monster, are responsible, along with Triple Threat before BLM Brandon and others. But, I mean, just thinking about those offices, they are responsible for the Pritzker Purge Law, which is why we call it the Pritzker Purge Law. You can put it on Kim Foxx's doorstep as much as you want, but you can't do it unless you fold in the principle, because the governor's the one with the pen that signs the bill into law, isn't he? So that this conversation about the disintegration of Chicago and Cook County and the public repudiation of Kim Foxx and Brandon Johnson, which has happened. She's gone, and he's 18 months in. You got one foot being pushed out the door or dragged out the door at this point. We'll see what happens. It could always get worse, of course, but that's Chicago. But don't let Pritzker, quietly skulk away from the embarrassments that are Brandon Johnson and Kim Foxx. No active law license.
I mean,
by the way, she claims it's a clerical error, that she has fulfilled the minimum continuing legal education credits, which are very easy to fulfill if you desire to have an active law license. Maybe she's getting out of the law talking business and she's gonna open a flower shop or something. I don't know. Maybe she's gonna offer a game room open a game room for wayward husbands. Susan, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Hi, Dan and Amy. So as a nurse, we have to have continuing education credits, of course. And in Illinois, the requirement was healthcare, implicit bias, and all that DEI stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another thing is, I have 2 black labs at home that I have to take care of, and I was able to do my CEUs in Indiana.
Despite having to raise 2 black labs. There you go. Yes. That's impressive.
And
Northwest Indiana.
Doesn't Stacey Davis Gates owe Indiana some back real estate taxes in South Bend, I think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is Stacey Davis Gates a resident of Indiana or Illinois? I'm unclear.
No,
or both.
But she claimed the residential that she was living in South Bend, but she was living in Illinois, so she owes the back taxes on that deduction.
Yeah. She got the exemption, right? Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for taking my call. I got 2 black labs at home. I got to take care of.
Yeah. Please, rush to their side. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of people we haven't heard from in a while, and of course, thinking of black labs, I immediately think of Tom Dart putting on his cape to rescue puppies from puppy mills, because that's what the Cook County Sheriff does.
Well, he loves those dogs.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I get emails every week or month on those.
He's the guy who likes dogs. We finally found one.
Yeah.
So impressive. Now he all of a sudden, he thinks that we should scrap the electronic monitoring program over safety concerns.
Oh, really?
CWB Chicago has been reporting for the better part of 4 years now the number of people out on electronic monitoring, awaiting trial for a felony, who have attempted to murder or murdered someone while on electronic monitoring and awaiting trial on another felony case. I mean, the number of preventable crimes and associated victims over the course of that time is in the hundreds.
I met one at the beach, remember? She had electronic monitoring on, and because you do 5 days in and then you get 48 hours where you can get out of your house. I'm like, well, that's not paying for your sins. She was a carjacker. She told me. I was like, oh, okay, great.
So we find out all of a sudden there's interest in this.
Oh, really?
Tom Dart's on top of it. Maybe Ro Khan helped him learn about this.
Ro Khan is in the carjacking division.
He's doing a bang-up job.
Just letting it know.
As you know, I mean, as a trained radio talk show host, I hope he's keeping his minimum continuing legal education credits come up if he wants to come back to the airwaves, because I'm sure WLS or WGN will take him. You know, that's what we do in Chicago is recycle has-beens. Yeah. 1,500 people in the program, including more than 100 facing charges of murder or attempted murder. Sure, of course.
How many?
100. 100 people facing charges of murder or attempted murder or meandering about, hanging out with Amy on the beach.
Why the hell would they be out? They should be behind bars, but whatever.
All right. Dart says the program should be for people charged with lower level crimes. Wow!
Think? Wow, this is
how long is Tom Dart been sheriff?
Forever. 2 husbands for me. That's all I know.
This is big news. The sheriff of Cook County thinks that murderers and attempted murders, it's just come upon him. Murders and attempted murders shouldn't be out on electronic monitoring. Well, where are we going to put them? Because I didn't hear Tom Dart register his opposition to the Pritzker Purge law. So, depending on the circumstances, they should just be released because we're a no cash bail state. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if Tom Dart has. But no, now he is negotiating with Chief Judge Tim Evans, another problem center, to handle all of the county's electronic monitoring cases after April 1st. Hey, take your time, fellas. Take your time. Kakistocracy. How are you liking it? Preckwinkle, Dart, BLM Brandon, Kim Fox, Jelly Belly, Chris Welch, Don Harmon. You ready for a paradigm shift yet in Illinois? In Chicagoland? Chicagoland, are you ready for a paradigm shift in Illinois? Because, Chicagoland obviously is speaking of problem centers, that's where it's going to happen or not going to happen. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I don't even think Dart is a cop, is he?
No, what do you need to be a cop for? You don't need to be a lawyer to be Cook County State's attorney. You don't need to be a cop to be sheriff, right? Yeah.
Hey, but I was going to say, with all the time now that Kim the Dude Fox has got, she could run for Thornton Community President now.
There you go. Thanks for the call, Larry. She's not in Thornton Township. I mean, not that these minor technicalities should matter.
God, can you imagine if she ran against Tiffany Henyard?
Well, she's in Flossmoor, so she's got to be in Rich Township.
Wow.
Or Bloom. I'm not sure which.
Pretend like she is.
What's going on with her husband? Her ex-husband now. She lost a husband during this tenure too.
Well, no,
she suffered
divorced.
Greatly. Well, that's she lost her husband.
What do you mean? Like he died.
Well, she lost her husband to Nintendo.
Well,
he was forced
to
look. I mean, look. I understand. He was forced to choose either it's me or Nintendo,
or
and
my
he chose
joystick.
And he chose the game console, and I don't blame him one bit. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hallelujah! Holy
On AM 560.
Where's the Tylenol?
The Answer.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered?
Hi, we're trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for our boss. Can you deliver a Barbie to Bonnie and Bartlett?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver Legos to Landon and Lamont?
We can deliver that.
Can you deliver pickleball paddles to Pam and Palatine?
We can deliver that.
Hey, big guy, quick delivery service can help.
More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or air shipment. The safe, licensed quick delivery service team offers quick door-to-door service. No chimney required. Quick delivery service also does not deliver packages in a sleigh driven by 9 reindeer. Place your order today. Visit quickdelivery.com. That's quickdelivery.com.
Hello, this is Randy Seiler from Quick Delivery Service in Schaumburg, Illinois. From our family to yours, wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in 2025.
Hey, Dan, whatever happened to the guy? Remember she was out walking at 10:30 on a work day and on a Thursday, and he said, "Get out of the way, biatch."
Yeah, and a guy tried to kill her with a big gulp.
Somebody texted in the big gulp Kim Fox Law Center of SIU.
It's not bad. That's not bad. I like that. They're going to need some corporate underwriting. Yeah, she's still traumatized by the what she believes was root beer in that
that's right.
that big gulp.
And then she turned it into a racial issue, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
No, he really didn't know who you were.
Didn't you used to be a lawyer?
Can I see your law license? All right, this Christmas season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this station for 10 years. Remember, gingerbread cookies, ice cream don't cut it. And don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. That's why I've been supplementing with Balance of Nature for nearly 10 years. It's so easy to open the individual capsules and dust them over a salad or mix them into warm water or a juice drink. That's how I do it. And thousands of AM 560 listeners love their Balance of Nature, and you will too. 6 capsules a day provide your body, heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You'll love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. So order your fruits and veggies today. Order them, too. It's a great stocking stuffer. The number to call is 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%. Again, that's 800-246-8751 or online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago. And Merry Christmas from Balance of Nature and AM 560, The Answer. Are you looking for a trustworthy garage to keep your Dodge Ram 45 or 5500 Cummins engine in tip-top shape? Look no further than Remke's Garage in Marengo. At Remke's Garage, their experienced team treats every car like it's their own. Plus, they believe in transparency, no surprises, just honest service and fair pricing. Check out the incredible reviews that satisfied customers have left on Google as they speak for themselves. With state-of-the-art equipment and a commitment to quality, they're proud to be your local choice for automotive care. And here's the best part. They offer free pickup and drop-off for your convenience. Both individually owned and fleet vehicle programs available to meet your needs. So why wait? Swing by Remke's Garage today and let them get you back on the road with confidence. Visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
This is Carol Platt, Liebau for townhall.com. Last week, the White House announced Joe Biden will commute the sentences of almost 1,500 criminals and pardon 39 others. It's the most commutations and clemencies ever granted in a single day. It's an abuse of the pardon power. Above all, many of Biden's commutations look like an ugly, obscene gesture to the country that elevated him to its highest position. They include a judge convicted of taking kickbacks to send minors to for-profit detention facilities, resulting in one young man committing suicide. Another recipient of clemency committed the largest municipal fraud in U.S. history. Others include Chinese spies and someone convicted of possessing child pornography. Only those with a deep and abiding hostility to America and a deep disrespect for its justice system could ever propose and approve such offenders for commutation. Shame on them all. And shame on Joe Biden.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of Illinois' cacistocracy, Saka Durbin, the senior senator, we'll find out. We're all eagerly anticipating his decision after the first year whether he's going to run again next cycle or not. He was questioning Charlie Baker, the head of the NCAA, during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, and he raised the issue of trans athletes.
How many athletes are there in the United States in NCAA schools?
510,000.
How many transgender athletes are you aware of?
Less than 10.
Less than 10 out of 510,000?
Yep.
It's a line of argumentation that these trans-mad identitarians use all the time. Well, less than 10. And then Durbin tweeted that clip out saying, or X'd it out, let's focus on ways to actually improve women's sports, because that's not an issue. Well,
it's an issue to that one girl who lost her spot because of a man.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, it's that, but it's more than that. Because one volleyball player at San Jose State roiled the whole conference. One swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania roiled all of women's swimming.
Yep.
Didn't he? Dick. What an ironic name for Senator Durbin.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, you're not going to believe what Jay Powell is a huge fan of. We'll start there, and then we'll get into serious matters of economics and markets with Jim Urio, 6:36.
And later, Dan translates alien. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Smith.
6:30, 32 degrees, and some snow showers in the area. Members of the House Intelligence Committee have received a classified briefing about that recent drone activity, especially over New Jersey and New York. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley.
They do not want to talk about this in public. They don't want to answer questions about it. This is really weird, and it's getting weirder.
Reps from the FBI, the CIA, and the National Intelligence Agency attended that briefing. Police in Madison, Wisconsin say the motive of the 15-year-old female school teacher was a combination of factors. A teacher and student at Abundant Life Christian School were killed on Monday. Impact Christian School's executive director, Chuck Moore, was at a vigil last night.
We're so grateful for this outpouring of love for this community.
The shooter has been identified as a 15-year-old female student who died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Prosecutors appear to be close to resting their case in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial. Prosecutors had predicted that they would likely wrap up their case yesterday, but the judge did send jurors home early after former state representative Eddie Acevedo had taken the stand. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Indiana Department of Corrections says Corcoran was pronounced dead around 12:45. Anti-death penalty advocate Robert Dunham.
To allow him to be executed without conducting an up-to-date, modern-day, to-the-minute hearing on what his mental state is something that we as the public should not accept.
Corcoran was convicted of killing 4 people in Allen County in 1997. Cook County's former top prosecutor has lost her license to practice law. The Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission says Kim Fox's law license was suspended December 1st because she failed to complete continuing legal education requirements. Demolition is underway on the near south side on a building that previously housed the E2 nightclub, where 21 died in a stampede in 2003.
This is also a part of Chicago's history, and we feel like these 21 lives should be honored.
Crews began tearing down the 2-story building yesterday as family members gathered to remember the lost. The express lanes on the Kennedy Expressway will not be reopening by the end of the year, and drivers are ready to stuff coal into IDOT's stocking.
I really don't understand why we can't use it if it's drivable and safe, of course. So that's kind of baffling to me, especially when the DNC was in town. They were able to use it going back and forth for everybody that was here for the DNC. So kind of weird how it's okay for them, but not for us.
IDOT announcing the express lanes and reversibles will not reopen until the week of January 13, and then struggled to explain why.
We are fully aware of the inconvenience this has been to the motorists. However, this last step is crucial to the safety of those driving using the system. We need to ensure the system works properly and safely before we can open it to traffic.
Chicago sports, Blackhawks score 3 in the third period for a comeback 3-2 win over the Capitals at the UC. Mikheyev, Brody, and Donato all lit the lamp. Hawks host Seattle tomorrow. Cubs are shipping first baseman outfielder Cody Bellinger to the Bronx in a trade with the Yankees. Cubs get back a right-hander, Cody Poteet, but it's the Cubs shedding Bellinger's $27.5 million contract hit next season. That makes sense for them, and the Yankees likely solve their issue at first base. The news is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have medical PPO insurance, check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk says the movement is better than ever.
Donald Trump won the mandate. The American people won the mandate. There was a referendum. This is much tougher than the old Tea Party. We organize faster. We understand the terrain. We navigate it better. We isolate targets better. Our movement is more courageous. We are more muscular. We are more capable to be able to hold the line and get people across the finish line.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
A lot of times people don't understand what a supplement is. A supplement is in addition to your regular foods. It's really just an incredible formula, and I've been doing nutrients for 43 years. It has a tremendous effect on how I feel, my well-being. I love the way it gives me all my supplements for fruits and vegetables, which I take a lot of anyway. But I find that this gives me that supplement that I was missing before.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money, but if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that's MediShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month, and they love it. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Call now. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
6:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Lowe's. New deals on last-minute gifts just dropped at Lowe's. Right now, get your choice of a Cobalt 8-piece standard or metric ratchet wrench, $39.98. That's a $60 savings. Valid 12/19 through 12/25 while supplies last. Selection will vary, of course, by location. Kennedy inbound, 45 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Cleaning up on the Eisenhower inbound near Elmhurst, York Road to St. Charles due to an accident. 2 right lanes are blocked. Stop and go traffic on the Reagan I-88 this morning. You'll hit the brakes right at Roosevelt Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Morning flurries, cloudy skies, high 35. Mostly cloudy and 32 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Okay, what fresh hell is this, if I may borrow from Dorothy Parker? You know that Call Her Daddy podcast? You probably only know it because of all the hoopla surrounding Kamala Harris appearing on it during the campaign.
Yeah, they made a whole fake set in Vegas for her. She didn't show up. Then they went to D.C. and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes.
So this Call Her Daddy podcast is hosted by this whorish woman named Alex Cooper. The show basically is, as I understand it, and there's some clips online associated with the story that speak to it. It's young girls talking in graphic detail about sex.
Yeah. They did a whole, well, I won't say, but they did a whole podcast on something going on in the heathen region.
Okay, if you could graduate from 5th grade.
Well, I don't want to say it because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want any emails before the Christmas break.
You can't say oral sex on the air? I just
fine.
said it.
There, go.
Good grief.
Okay, well, they did a whole hour podcast about that.
I think that's most of the show, like multiple podcasts.
Oh, all right, well.
I don't know, but anyway.
It's boorish. It's embarrassing.
The host was interviewed at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, which is where we found out from Aaron Ross Sorkin's probing interview. Heady stuff, pun intended. Where we found out about the set that was constructed and the cost and where it took place from the host. According to Vulture, which is a news cultural outlet, I guess. After she did that interview with the equally whorish Aaron Ross Sorkin at the Deal Book Summit, New York Times event, she heard someone was excited to meet her. Who is that person who went before me that really wanted to meet me? She asked the publicist. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell.
No, come on. That's fake news.
It's not. I don't think it is fake news. Jerome Powell is, when he's not raising or cutting interest rates, he's glued to the Call Me Daddy podcast.
Gross.
Another creepster. Do we have any knowledge of Jay Powell's attendance to Epstein Island or P. Diddy parties? Oh, boy. Okay. There's the intersection of culture and financial news, isn't there? Jim Urio joins us now. He's a podcaster. Jim, have you been on the Call Me Daddy podcast? Are you a fan?
No. And how is my podcast supposed to compete with them talking about whatever it was that Amy said that I wouldn't want to say either?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a new name on Instagram, Daddy J Pow.
I bet he does. Is that his, or
no,
is that
it's a spoof? But that's great.
Well, no kidding.
I know,
yeah,
but
I
I
assume
love
he's
it.
not that.
Purveyors of money printed in the best, and I love that show. Okay.
Yeah, Jay Powell. Call me.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't make this stuff
Can I
up.
remind you guys of something real quick, though? Because, this isn't even the craziest thing ever. Remember, we had a congressman, literally with the last name of Wiener, who was sending, you know what, I won't even finish that sentence.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
what kind of comedic gift that was several years ago?
Yeah, but Jerome Powell, he's in the great granddad category. Well, at least he looks like a great grandfather.
That's a good point.
Jim Urio is the host, not of Call Me Daddy, the Future's Edge podcast, where I don't believe oral sex is discussed. Did I just make everybody uncomfortable? Good. He's also a special contributor to WirePoints, wirepoints.org. Jim, on a serious note, the announcement of the SoftBank $100 billion investment that was offered by Trump and the head of SoftBank earlier this week. The Wall Street Journal pointed out, it's interesting, you're celebrating $100 billion from this Korean magnate and his company, and yet you take an antagonist position to Nippon Steel buying U.S. Steel. Isn't that hypocritical?
There's no question. And it just, I think with Donald Trump, and again, for people listening, I support Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump. It is a binary, though, so it is time to pick apart and see what the problems are with his policy. And his policies seem to just go what he thinks public opinion will be. Now, oftentimes that's not that bad a thing, but right now it does create a hypocritical thing. Now, he looks at the SoftBank thing, and it's like symbolic of attracting the world's dollars to invest in U.S. dollars and bring it onshore, whatever. Now, SoftBank, by the way, does not have the greatest reputation of being the most timely investor in the world, too. They've had some big things that they wanted a mulligan for, I'm quite sure. By the way, I like that. I'd use some golf parlance to bring you in.
Very nice. It's right. I mean, I was actually going to raise that issue, too, because it sort of feels a little bit like Foxconn in Wisconsin, which didn't really live up to the promise, did it?
Bingo. No, but for a symbolic standpoint, that's good. Now, when Trump then looks at Nippon Steel making the purchase here, that he then thinks all of a sudden then he becomes defensive like that. Oh, they're trying to take over. So, yeah, it's a thin line to walk. And is it hypocritical? Absolutely it's hypocritical. And hopefully there won't be too many more instances of this, too. And I know he does want to attract the world's dollars to invest in the U.S., so I hope he concentrates more on that than vilifying other things.
But I want you to hear this because he was such a boss at that press conference he had yesterday. He took 33 questions from reporters. He had the CEO of SoftBank with him, and he wanted to make the 100 billion, 200 billion. Listen to this.
I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America.
And we were discussing, and President Trump said, Masa, double that is not enough. Maybe, go for more, right?
That's what I'm going to ask him right now. Would you make it $200 billion instead of He'll make it. $200 billion investment.
He's an ultimate negotiator doing that in front of, everybody was watching, but he didn't balk on the $200 billion. So is that going to do anything for our economy, Jim Urio?
Well, I mean, it is symbolic of what could be to come, and I do think that his policies of, we've talked about this on this show before, too. When he talks about tariffs, he's not a fan of tariffs. He wants the world to drop their tariffs, and he wants to encourage companies to invest here, produce here, build their plants here. So that's what that's all designed to achieve. Now, is the SoftBank thing a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. Is it symbolic of perhaps things to come? Yes. Are we in a far, far better place? And I was just thinking about this before we got on, is that of Donald Trump's economic policies, I agree with about 60% of them and disagree with about 40% of them. We went over that with the Nippon Steel thing, too, which is so different than who they were running against, who I literally disagreed with 100% of their policies. And anyone else with a working knowledge of even basic economics would feel the same way. So are we in a great spot? Well, hell yeah, we're in a great spot compared to where we could have been. But there are some sort of bipolar things coming out of the Trump administration, which, by the way, it's going to be a difficult 2025 to get us back where we need to be.
The retail sector, store closures up 69% from last year, 69% year over year. Major retailers shutting down thousands of locations, leading with the drugstores. Is that a problem, or is that just Schumpeterian creative destruction?
No, it is definitely a problem. And this notion that they've been feeding us for the last year, that we have this outstanding economy, and then they look at numbers like retail sales, which came out yesterday, which have been inflated for the whole year. Guess one of the reasons why they're inflated is that there's massive inflation and people have to spend more money. It's measured in net dollar terms. Secondly, there is very little question that the policies of the last 5 years have absolutely gutted the middle class, made the rich far richer. The asset holders have never been more wealthy in this country. But the bottom 60% who aren't the asset holders are already in kind of a massive recession. Now throw in the fact that they've literally been lying about the labor numbers for 2 years. And I don't know if you remember, 3 months ago, they all of a sudden came and said, yeah, we overestimated 850,000 jobs. Now they're doing it again, where they're coming back saying, yeah, we may have overestimated it by another 200,000 jobs. And even inside of that, the jobs that they all created were side hustle, Uber drivers, delivery service, healthcare, education, and government. So this is a really, really bad labor market. They've been telling us it's a good labor market. But now, as far as retail's closing, absolutely, it's going to happen. We are starting to feel the effects of, they tried to hold it up with government spending for so long, but there are some very difficult times. Now, can Trump ride in on a white horse, start slashing corporate taxes and right the ship? Yes, I think he can, but I think he has to act really quickly.
Well, the other thing, too, I mean, just in terms of who's leading, I mentioned drugstores like CVS, but also, for people that are on a budget and maybe lower middle income, Family Dollar is the retailer that is slashing the most stores, did slash the most retail locations this year. So, then you have fewer affordable shopping options for people, too. So the walls continue closing in.
There's no question about it. We are not in a great spot right now. But again, I think that there's a lot of people who are very, very hopeful, me being one of them. But that doesn't mean I'm 100% confident that he can right the ship quickly. But the things he should do right off the bat would be to slash corporate taxes, slash capital gains tax. Now, the capital gains tax, they've only talked about casually, at 23.8% is absolutely punitive, and what it ends up doing is stops people from actually making the right capital allocation decisions, and it puts money in the wrong places because people don't want to sell to pay the government, me included. So if he does those two things right away, I think he could give us somewhat of a kickstart and then start massively deregulating. They have to look at every federal regulation, every regulatory body, and try to get things going again, or else we don't really have a chance, and we could be sailing towards the rocks. And what that looks like to me is a currency or a bond issue. I don't want to say crisis, but I think we're still a year away from that.
Well, the other piece of this, and he may be further behind the 8 ball than he is already, is federal spend. And we've got a 1,574-page spending bill that is moving through Congress to, quote-unquote, fund the government until the second week of March. Missouri Representative Republican Eric Burleson on that spending bill that is moving with the help of Speaker Johnson.
So what are your thoughts on this here? Have you seen the text at all?
It's a total dumpster fire. I think it's garbage. This is what Washington, D.C. has done. This is why I ran for Congress, to try to stop this. And sadly, this is happening again. I think that it's shameful that people that celebrate Doge coming in, and yet we're going to vote for another $1 billion to be added to the deficit. And so it's ironic.
What does this mean for Speaker Johnson's future?
Personally, I'm disappointed. I think that he can do better. He can communicate better. The fact that we haven't seen the language today and we're supposed to vote on it this week is unacceptable.
also, everybody's all pro Doge because Vivek and Elon are popular, but then they go back to their day jobs and continue behaving the same way they've been behaving.
Not only that, this is the equivalent of like armies in retreat burning the crops to try to starve out the people who are taking over. This is reprehensible that they have accelerated their spending, which is one of the reasons they lost the election. Because even casual observers of economics are noticing now that we cannot continue racking up the debt that we have, and so the message happens in the election. And instead of changing their ways and acquiescing to the will of the people, they're accelerating spending on the way out. Even things like selling off portions of the border wall, that everything seems to be like, oh, you don't want us in office? Then here, we're going to fix your wagon. And how could anyone have ever voted for these morons to begin with?
Well, but it's also, as you heard from a Republican, it's Republicans throwing in on this. That's the real problem.
I'm nonpartisan and hating the big spenders. Yes, there is Republicans throwing in. They should be fighting a lot more. I don't vote Republicans because I think they're great. I vote for Republicans because I don't like any one of the Democratic policies. So yeah, the Republicans have to get their act together and start fighting. Yes.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because we have this great model a little bit south of us that could be cut and pasted into the Trump economic agenda. I'm talking about Milei and Argentina. Yeah. Argentina's economy emerged from a recession in the third quarter of 2024. The GDP expanded 3.9% from July to September. The same period a year earlier, the GDP had contracted by 2.1%. He has made brutal spending cuts, moved a massive deregulation drive. He's brought the country's triple-digit annual inflation down to something that is at least manageable, at least within the bounds of, light at the end of the tunnel here. He has done an incredible job in a year. And so, reducing the size and scope of government and freeing up markets is good economics, which means it's good policy because it's good for the mass of people.
Yes, of this, there's absolutely no question. It works. He's like our modern-day hero, our modern-day Margaret Thatcher. But there's one element of this that's extremely important, is that you do have to take a couple steps backward before these giant leaps forward. Even the first year he was in office, poverty actually ticked up, and it has to do that. And that's so the question becomes, if in 2025 we run bigger deficits than we did in 2024, which that's my base case, I think we will. Perhaps there's a bit of inflation. Perhaps there's even a little bit more pain for people. Will then they punish the Trump administration and the Republicans at the midterms in 2026? Because I think 2026 is when we start to see the fruits of this. This is like planting a tree, man, or planting crops. It doesn't affect us right away. So if we can weather the weakness in the storm, which is, by the way, it's easy for the three of us to say, and then still vote this way, there's one way out, and it involves some pain in the short end.
Well, this is where you have to bring people along and you have to level with them and make the case relentlessly on a daily basis to explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you anticipate will happen on a particular schedule, and just be transparent about it from the beginning. And then you build trust and people can buy into, look, we've done this. We've put ourselves in this terrible position that we all know or should know. And I'll remind you where we are, what I inherited, if you will. And this is the path out. And so it's not, without its pitfalls, and you have to understand that. It seems to me that's the program.
And I don't know the answer to this. Do you have confidence that the average voting Joe will be able to see that picture clearly enough to know where we're going? And I don't know. I'm not saying they don't. What do you think?
I think they can if you do some splaining. I think you have to make cases. I think you have to make arguments. He has a lot of political capital right now. I'm talking about Trump, and he's got a lot of surrogates. And smartly, he's got a lot of surrogates that are media savvy in important positions. You can make the case over and over and over again. You also have a fragmented media universe, so you don't have to rely on legacy media to make that case. So there's no reason you can't combine the art of the deal with the art of persuasion, in my view.
I agree with you. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, let's be a positive note. Absolutely.
One other thing I wanted to get your take on. Interesting piece in the Journal earlier this week. The Wall Street Titans Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, Ken Griffin, Larry Fink, Ray Dalio. They all said that Bitcoin was a fad. They're moderating their position on Bitcoin and crypto, but specifically Bitcoin, now that it's topped $100,000. What's your take on where that is, and if you do have some of the pain that you just mentioned, currency bond, what the impact will be on the continued rise of Bitcoin and crypto?
So my whole thesis for being in crypto for the last, let's call it 5 years, has been institutional adoption. I've said that on the show before. The moment BlackRock said, yeah, we're increasing our footprint into Bitcoin, I was like, okay, you are, then so am I. And now the U.S. federal government has jumped in. So here's the thesis is, if you're talking about the Ken Griffins and the Jamie Dimons finally coming around on this at the same time that the U.S. government is finally coming around on this and talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, et cetera, to me it seems just getting more and more roots. Now, if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I'm in Bitcoin. I think there's a solid chance that it could be just some weird Ponzi and it's going to end in tears, and that's fine because I have 1-2% of my net worth in Bitcoin. It's grown more than that now. But now you look at it and say, okay, if these people are really the people who control the purse strings of the entire world, if they are all saying, okay, this might be a reasonable store of value, all this thing needs is a multi-decade track record, and it's building it and building it. So do I think Bitcoin is going to be around in 10 years? Yeah, probably.
Well, but I mean, institutions fail too. We saw that in 2008.
Yeah, but I mean, sure. But can we see an instance where BlackRock, Jamie Dimon, Ken Griffin, all of them getting in at the beginning of this sort of infantile stage of Bitcoin? I don't see it. When you show me that mom and pop's leverages they're leveraging up their home to buy more Bitcoin, then I'll get absolutely terrified of this effort. But I'm not at this point in time.
Fair point. Jim Urio, he's the host of the Future's Edge podcast, not to be confused with Call Her Daddy, and special contributor wirepoints.org. Jim, thank you as always.
Thank you guys for having me. See you guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, Liz Cheney referred for a criminal investigation. We'll discuss 7:07.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Demolition begins at the E2 nightclub. Cubs trade Cody Bellinger to the Yankees, and the Blackhawks rally in the third period past the Capitals. WIND Chicago News Time, 7 o'clock.
Everyone was a target. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Police in Madison, Wisconsin say a combination of factors may have led to a shooting Monday at a small Christian school by a 15-year-old girl who then killed herself. There are reports of a turbulent home life, and police are looking into whether there was bullying. The teacher and student killed are remembered at a vigil outside the Wisconsin State Capitol in Madison.
Let us be a community where when we see someone who needs help, that we are the first to extend our hands.
The girl had joined a gun club with her dad this year, according to a post of his on social media in August. 2 of the 6 people wounded are in critical condition. And interest rate cuts expected to be announced at 2 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon.
It's widely expected that the central bank will slash interest rates by 0.25% as a means of supporting the labor market. Fed officials began cutting rates in September with a big half-point cut, then slashed them again last month by 0.25 point. A cut today would mark the 3rd in a row. The Fed will also announce updated economic forecast, and many analysts expect policymakers to slightly scale back the number of interest rate cuts for next year as a result of President-elect Trump's economic economic agenda, and since recent inflation data has been stickier than the Fed desires. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
2 stuck astronauts had their mission extended again.
NASA announced the latest delay in Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams' homecoming. The agency says instead of late February, they're looking at remaining there until at least late March. The saga began on June 5th when the pair blasted off on their way to the International Space Station. Originally, the mission was supposed to last only about a week, but it was first extended by 8 months when NASA decided to send Boeing's problem-plagued Starliner capsule back to Earth empty in September.
Fox's Tom Rigotti. Quadruple murderer Joseph Corcoran's put to death by lethal injection in Indiana, the state's first execution in 15 years. America's listening to Fox News.
7:02. Still in the area, a few snowflakes in the air, 32 degrees. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Corcoran attorneys made one last pitch to delay the execution just before midnight, but he was pronounced dead at 12:45 a.m. Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb recently said he stands by that decision.
I still believe in capital punishment. I subscribe to that as a form of ultimate justice.
Corcoran was convicted of killing 4 people, including his brother James, in Allen County in 1997. Cook County's former top prosecutor has lost her license to practice law. The Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission says Kim Fox's law license was suspended on December 1st. She failed to take continuing legal education classes. Demolition is underway on the near south side on a building that previously housed the E2 nightclub, where 21 died in a stampede in 2003.
A wonderful night turned into a tragic night. Something that we still living with 21 years later.
The property along the city's historic and protected motor row has been vacant since that tragedy. And a police chase that began in Indiana ended in Chicago Tuesday with the arrest of a 26-year-old area man who allegedly fled from officers with a 4-year-old child inside his vehicle. The incident began just after 5 p.m. when Highland, Indiana police tried pulling over a black BMW as part of a joint law enforcement operation. The driver refused to stop. Finally, police performed a pit maneuver near 53rd and Morgan, bringing that vehicle to a halt. Then, officers were forced to use a taser to try and subdue the man. Authorities say the child was checked out by paramedics and released to relatives. The Blackhawks scored 3 in the third in a comeback 3-2 win over the Capitals at the UC. Cubs part ways with a former MVP, Cody Bellinger, sent to the Bronx in a trade with the Yankees. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Sean Thompson here to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign. We've partnered with Food for the Poor once again to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're talking about a part of the world that continues to suffer from the effects of economic destruction and decline, political corruption, instability, gangs, high prices for food. Families are forced to skip meals for days at a time because they simply can't afford to buy food. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners. Food for the Poor needs your help. Right now, thanks to a generous match. For one-time gift of $100, you can provide life-saving food for 2 children for an entire year. And it helps their community to gain access to water. Or consider a gift of giving $200, which would provide life-saving food for 4 children for the entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673 or go to 560theanswer.com. Just simply click on the Give Life banner at the top of the website.
When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk. Police officer and canine handler Jacob Russell Chaffins was fatally shot while attempting to serve warrants for domestic violence offenses. And thanks to friends like you and your generosity, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave the Chaffins family the gift of a mortgage-free home. There's so much more to do and to say thank you to our nation's heroes and their families for their immense sacrifices, all for us. Donate $11 a month. Go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update, a service of almostfreeteeth.com, where overpaying for dental implants is over. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy at an hour 7 right now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Due to an earlier accident near Elmhurst, York Road to St. Charles still slow. 49 minutes into the old post office this morning. Accident, left lane blocked on the Tri-State northbound between Archer to right before Plainfield Road at the site of that accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
A few flurries this morning, otherwise clouds and breezy. A couple of slick spots early, high today 35. Cloudy tonight, low 25. Partly sunny day tomorrow, the high at 34. Clouds, snow, and flurries with little or no accumulation on Friday, the high 33. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
32 at O'Hare, 35 at Midway, 35 in Kankakee, and 34 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Liz Cheney to be the subject of a criminal investigation upon Trump's inauguration, January 20th, and the confirmation of Pam Bondi as Attorney General, Kash Patel as FBI Director. That's the recommendation of the House Administration Subcommittee on Oversight's Chairman Barry Loudermilk, who's been running basically the counter Jan 6th committee. He released an interim report on his findings of the events surrounding January 6th, as well as his investigation into the politicization of the January 6th Select Committee. His top findings: Former Representative Liz Cheney colluded with quote-unquote star witness Cassidy Hutchinson without Hutchinson's attorney's knowledge. Former Representative Liz Cheney should be investigated for potential criminal witness tampering based on the new information about her communication. And then you get into Cassidy Hutchinson's outrageous claims before that J6 committee. We'll remind you, but the bottom line is the assertions that she made were roundly rejected by people in the know. She was the one, among other things, who said that Trump tried to grab the steering wheel of Secret Service and turn it back to the Capitol on January 6th, and then he somehow got his hands around another Secret Service agent and so on and so forth. Trump actually addressed these allegations back at a rally in July of 22 in Arizona.
3 weeks after January 6th, she wrote us a letter saying, "Oh, I loved working for the president. He's so great." I guess she put out a tweet. Now it would be a truth, hopefully. But she put out something, "Oh, it was such a great honor to serve our president." And then all of a sudden she's out there. This is long after the January 6th. Or the other one where she goes out and she said that it's just not my deal. I love Secret Service. They're great. They're incredible people. They're brave people. They're strong, powerful, smart, brilliant. Now think of this. She said, "I got into the Beast." Well, it wasn't the Beast. It wasn't the Beast. The Beast is a specific car. I got into the Beast. And I grabbed the steering wheel to make it go down to... Now, I have a guy sitting there who can lift 300 pounds. I don't know. I don't think I can. I don't want to say I know I can't, which I do. I know I can't. But these are strong, tough people. I grabbed the wheel. I don't even know if you could fit through there. Have to lose some weight. I grabbed the wheel, but I was rebuffed. And instead, my hands went to the throat or something of the other Secret Service. Now, this guy lifts like 300 pounds or 350. And he's a very tough guy. But think of it. What person would... I'm the President of the United States. And can you imagine this made-up story? It is total fiction. And I say thank God for the great people in the Secret Service, because they put out a statement that it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't true.
Alyssa Farah Griffin.
Oh, from The View?
Yeah, that one, who was a former Trump official, to give The View some legitimacy that it's got a broad cross-section of opinion. She's another man-hating shrew hack, dimwit, and unfortunately platformed by the Trump administration, another bad hire.
Yep.
She, going back to that time and the reporting by John Solomon's outfit, Just the News, she twice suggested to Cassidy Hutchinson during active legal proceedings that she should give information to reporters. She encouraged her to leak. The pair also discussed ways to circumvent Hutchinson's lawyer, Stefan Passantino, to communicate with former Republican Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Oh, look at the three gal pals.
Here is the aforesaid John Solomon, who's been on this from the outset, when Cassidy Hutchinson had the epiphany after lampooning in text. We have this. She lampooned the J6 committee as phony. She, called herself, "I'm an insurrectionist," laughing about the proceedings on January 6th in the aftermath of it. And then all of a sudden became the star witness and came up with these fanciful stories like the one just described. John Solomon on the criminal referral for Liz Cheney.
Administration Subcommittee on Oversight, the committee that's been investigating January 6th, just released its final report for this year. It accuses Liz Cheney of tampering with the witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, trying to influence her testimony. It formally recommends that the Federal Bureau of Investigation criminally investigate Liz Cheney when President Trump takes over on January 20th. One of several bombshell revelations in here. The report also says that Jack Smith colluded with the January 6th committee, but that some of the evidence has not yet been turned over to Congress. They're demanding that evidence be turned over, something that might happen when the new administration takes over. But a really significant and rare moment for Congress to actually suggest that one of its members should be criminally prosecuted for tampering with a witness in an official government proceeding, a House hearing, the January 6th House hearing. As you remember, Cassidy Hutchinson was the bombshell witness for the Democrats, claimed that Donald Trump tried to commandeer the presidential limousine, take it to the Capitol. We now know that wasn't true. The Secret Service had already told Liz Cheney it wasn't true. She presented the evidence anyways to the American public, tried to give it credence. There's some other testimony where Cassidy Hutchinson talks about a document. She claims she wrote it. She didn't. Someone else wrote it. All of that is laid out in this report. But the headline is Liz Cheney could be facing an FBI criminal investigation based on this information that Congress has transmitted this morning.
Well, two things. One is federal witness tampering statute provides punishment up to 20 years.
Go for it. Take her down.
In addition to that, in addition to the criminal referral on Liz Cheney, we need a criminal referral on Cassidy Hutchinson because she testified under oath. And
in prime time, Dan. Remember that? They had that special J6 committee, prime time, 7 to 9. All the networks ran it,
Well, yeah.
real live television. Well, it was real live television, but it was just a way to promote their narrative. Oh
right,
God,
but it doesn't matter what time you testify if you perjure yourself. And there's a lot of evidence that she did. And again, under oath, I want to see her investigated for perjury and prosecuted if federal law enforcement believes they have evidence that would clear the reasonable doubt standard, don't you? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. John Solomon also addressed the effort that we just described, aided apparently by Alyssa Farah Griffin. See if you can fold her in, too, if there's a legitimate basis to do so. John Solomon about going around Cassidy Hutchinson's attorney.
Liz Cheney was communicating to Cassidy Hutchinson around her lawyer. She was represented by a lawyer. When you go out and reach out to someone around their lawyer, you're violating the D.C. bar ethics, which, by the way, Liz Cheney was a barred lawyer in D.C., so she was obligated to follow those rules. But it goes beyond that. It suggests that she was trying to influence the testimony, get her to say things that would make Donald Trump look worse. This is a very serious allegation from Chairman Barry Loudermilk, the head of this committee, the guy who's run the counter January 6th investigation that has found so many things we were denied and not told about in the earlier probe.
Liz Cheney responded to this on Blue Sky. That's where you can find Liz Cheney now. She's on this,
alternative to X.
Well, yeah, sort of right. This
safe space for Democrats.
Yeah, leftist pantomime of X, social media platform. The Department of Justice conducted its own investigation, reached the same fundamental conclusions we did, that Donald Trump was shown for who he really is on January 6th, a man who allowed violent attacks to continue against our Capitol and law enforcement officers while I watched television, blah, blah, blah. The hearings featured scores of Republican witnesses, including senior officials from Trump's own White House. Oh, yeah, like Cassidy Hutchinson, because she was some staffer for Mark Meadows. She's a senior official. All of this testimony is painstakingly set out in the thousands of pages of transcript, blah, blah, blah. The interim report intentionally disregards the truth and the Select Committee's tremendous weight of evidence and instead fabricates lies and defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up what Donald Trump did. Their allegations do not reflect a review of the actual evidence and are malicious and cowardly assault on the truth. No reputable lawyer, legislator, or judge would take this seriously. Okay. Well, the battle lines have been joined. And the battle lines have been drawn, I should say, and the battle has been joined. Liz? 312-642-5600.
Yeah. Got a
Jordan,
text. Oh, sorry.
Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning. I think he's got the right guys coming in the DOJ, and I'm hopeful. But unfortunately, I think with the degenerate that's in the executive office right now, all this report is just giving him a roadmap for preemptive pardons is my fear. And then the other side of that is...
He had that roadmap. He's always had that roadmap. He had that roadmap before.
Now it's kind of out there in the public, and now you're like putting it in space, and
that's where
going to come to him.
No. You got it.
I'm just fearful.
You're thinking about it the wrong way. That's where it needs to be, out in the public, to put pressure on Biden not to issue the preemptive pardon. because
Do you think he has enough integrity to not do that?
doesn't we just raised the price of the preemptive pardon. Well, we didn't. Loudermilk did, and that committee did. You just raised the political price. Yeah, this is the play.
I hear you, and I'm hopeful, but I'm just.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. You again, golden rule: do not get beat up in a back alley. You have the goods on a malign actor like Liz Cheney, then you bring them forward, and you bring them forward when you have them, or when you're required to issue your end of the year report to give essentially a status update on the investigation. You put a marker down. You know, borrowing from John Wooden. If we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what they do. Stop worrying about scouting the other side. Let's do what we're supposed to do. And that's what Loudermilk and that committee did here.
Question, Dan, can Cheney be charged even if Biden gives her a pass? Put her through a costly, embarrassing trial, so to speak.
Well, she couldn't. I mean, if he gives her a pardon, she couldn't. And depending on the nature of it, preemptive pardon. I'm sure it would contemplate the broad outlines of this criminal referral, and so she would be insulated from federal charges. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's an angle in because this is a federal matter. So she could walk. Most likely with a preemptive pardon. But now you've got a firestorm around it. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same thing that we're talking about with others who may be in some jeopardy criminally. And this is why we've been discussing for the last several weeks since the pardons and the commutations started flying, the prospect of these preemptive pardons. I mean, I'm still waiting for Jim Biden, his brother, to be pardoned to provide more insulation for the big guy.
They look so much alike, it's creepy.
So we'll see. We'll see, and we'll talk to Richard Epstein a little bit later in the show about the preemptive pardon issue. Tina and Joliet.
All right, good morning, guys. I just want every listener to go back to 2016 and remind themselves that from the get-go, from Russia through January 6th, the intent on the left was to imprison this man and his family and anybody else who helped him, imprison him for the rest of his life.
Yep.
We have to take this as far as we can take it. And we have to see charges. We are a battle-hardened group of MAGA supporters, and they can't drop the ball on this. They fully intended to lock him up for the rest of his life. It wasn't just a circus to embarrass Donald Trump. They wanted to destroy this man, and we've got to see charges. I would love to see Liz Cheney charged and sentenced. Quite frankly, we can't be soft on this.
Thanks for the call, Tina. And by the way, wanted, it's not even past tense. Judge Merchan in the Manhattan hush money case refused to dismiss the charges. So that the outcome of that case, for which Trump was convicted of 34 felonies, is still an open question. Something else we'll talk to Richard Epstein about. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Santa's coming to town. Oh, my God.
On AM 560.
Santa here? I know him.
The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
All right, you've heard the turnkey name for years here on AM 560. Maybe you've thought that you don't need help because you've made it this far with your network. Have you grown your business or acquired another business? Do you have more than one network that you've hobbled together? Maybe your sales team has grown, or your client base, or your network is old and outdated, holding your business back from its full potential. Well, guess what? All of these reasons can leave your business open for security breaches, stop production, compromise sales, and cost you thousands of dollars. So don't leave it up to an hourly IT manager that comes in when he's available. Call Turnkey. Talk to Turnkey. Start a conversation today with Turnkey. They understand the importance of having a network you can count on. And for the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with the most secure, up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support, and real-time threat hunting. All by world-class technicians who really care about helping people. So protect your small business today. Visit turnkey.pro, the champions of small business. That's turnkey.pro.
MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98, now only $59.98. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and be sure to use promo code LIBERTY to save on all MyPillow products. That's 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98 or the 6-piece towel sets for just $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free or use promo code LIBERTY at MyPillow.com.
All right, I can't wait to do it. Take Balance of Nature. Oh, yeah. I don't get enough fruits and veggies on my own, and having an apple or a banana here or there is not going to cut it. Your body needs more fruits and vegetables, and that's where Balance of Nature comes in. 6 capsules a day. You're getting several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. Your body and your mind and heart will thank you for it. Be one of the cool kids. Get your bottles of fruits and veggies today. You can also put it in the stocking. It makes a great Christmas gift. The number to call, 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%. And Merry Christmas from Balance of Nature and AM 560, The Answer.
When you're looking to make your business bulletproof, what comes to mind? Trustworthiness? Accuracy? Truthiness? Well, that's not even a real word. In today's competitive business landscape, considerations like trust, attention to service, accuracy, and knowledge are critical. So is cost, and finding the right balance is important, especially where your business insurance, employee benefits, and executive compensation needs are concerned. For bulletproofing your business, remember DSP Insurance Services. DSP is family-owned and has provided comprehensive risk management solutions and strategic excellence across industries for over 40 years. Business owners continue to partner with DSP because they offer the robust services of a national broker, yet a personal touch that is harder than ever to find these days. Contact DSP Insurance Services for a business and risk audit today. Visit online at dspmybusiness.com. That's dspmybusiness.com. DSP Insurance, your outsourced risk management department since 1981.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Recommendations for a new post that should be forthcoming and hopefully was budgeted for the city of Chicago. The weight stigmas are. We need your recommendations. We'll pass those along to City Hall. San Francisco has one, so that means Chicago must. 737.
Can't wait to hear about the job description. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott. Hi, Mike.
7:31 on AM 560, The Answer. Cloudy skies right now, and light snow showers are falling across parts of the area. House Intelligence Committee members got a classified briefing about that recent drone activity over New Jersey and New York. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley was there.
Talk about this in public. They don't want to answer questions about it. This is really weird, and it's getting weirder.
The Missouri Republican says FBI, DHS, CIA, they're not talking about the issue. Police in Madison, Wisconsin say the motive of a 15-year-old female school shooter was a combination of factors. Impact Christian Schools Executive Director Chuck Moore thanked the community for their support at a vigil in Madison last night.
We're so grateful for this outpouring of love for this community.
Two things we're watching today as well. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to cut interest rates again when it announces its latest decision today. Two NASA astronauts who have been stuck on the International Space Station will now have to stay there through March. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore flew to the ISS on the Boeing Starliner's shaky first test flight way back in June. Prosecutors appear close to resting their case in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Corcoran pronounced dead around 12:45. Anti-death penalty advocate Robert Dunham.
To allow him to be executed without conducting an up-to-date, modern-day, to-the-minute hearing on what his mental state is something that we as the public should not accept.
Corcoran was convicted of killing 4 people in Allen County in 1997, including his brother James. One person is recovering after a car fire inside a Trump Tower parking garage. Blaze took place yesterday morning in the 6th floor of that garage. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul and the FTC have reached a $25 million settlement with Grubhub, the Chicago-based online food ordering company. The payout comes after claims of deceptive business practices that harm customers and delivery drivers. And the city of Chicago is once again holding its You Name a Snowplow contest. Chicago residents are encouraged to submit innovative snowplow names, even some humorous ones, at chicagoshovels.org by January 4. Some of last year's winning names: Control Salt Delete and Casimir Plowaski. 2023 saw the introduction of Mrs. O'Leary's Plow, Salter Payton, and the Sears Plower. Chicago sports: Blackhawks plowed their way to a 3-2 win over the Capitals at the United Center. Hawks host Seattle tomorrow night. Cubs part ways with Cody Bellinger. They send Bellinger and his $27.5 million contract hit next season to the Yankees. Cubs get back right-hander Cody Poteet, and the Yankees likely solve their first base problems. College hoops: DePaul crushed by St. John's 89-61. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have medical PPO insurance. Find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back almostfreeteeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other, and if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. For our friends in Arlington Heights this morning, Dunton Avenue, north and southbound, completely shut down. They're building a crane there throughout much of this day. Lombard, St. Charles and Maine, report of an accident. Tri-State southbound, right after Oplane Road, you've got a disabled vehicle pulled off onto the right, but it is causing some delays. And problems as you travel on the Ike inbound at 25th, report of an accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Morning flurries, cloudy, breezy, high 35. More clouds overnight, low 25. 32 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I'd like to introduce you to something that we don't have, as far as I know, in Chicago. Maybe even at the state level we need one as well.
What?
San Francisco does, though. We need a weight stigma czar.
A weight stigma czar?
The weight, fat influencers like Jay Bay are just not getting the job done. So San Francisco's public health department has brought on Virgie Tover to be their weight stigma czar. Here's Virgie Tover introducing herself.
Hi, my name is Virgie Tovar, and I'm the author of You Have the Right to Remain Fat, as well as a few other books on fat positivity and body acceptance. When I think about what people might be surprised by or what you wouldn't think of when you think of eating disorders, I immediately think of being a kid. I was a kid in a larger body, a teen in a larger body, and also I'm an adult in a larger body. And the message I always got from my doctor was shrink your body by any means necessary. And it really felt like there was a sense of a don't ask, don't tell. So because I truly believed, right, and this is where I think the surprise comes in. I really believed that this was about my health. I really believed that my doctor was right. Because why would I believe anything?
Right, and it's not about that. It's just about trying to conform to what larger society's view of healthy is or view of beauty is. And Virgie Tover is beautiful on the inside, and she's a healthy person in a bigger body. She has the right to remain fat, and her fatness shall not be used against her in San Francisco. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Amy, as somebody who is a notorious fat bigot, what do you have to say to Virgie Tover and the prospect of having a weight stigma czar in the BLM Brandon administration or the Jelly Belly administration? Maybe Jelly Belly could
Himself,
be
right.
the weight stigma czar for the city.
That's what I was thinking. Then, I just Googled her, so I'm seeing her for the first time.
Are you really seeing her, though? Are you hearing her?
Shut up, Dan. She holds up signs that says, I don't want Ozempic. Okay, she obviously...
We believe her.
Taxpayer-funded weight stigma czar. So people's tax dollars, because they're spread pretty thin in San Francisco. I mean, they don't have a homeless population issue or fentanyl.
No, that got solved by Gavin Newsom a decade ago.
Right,
so.
That's right. Yeah, He's doing a bang-up job there in California. Are we told by our doctors to stay in shape? Yeah, so that we don't get type 2 diabetes, so that we don't have heart disease, so that we don't have kidney failure, so we don't have other problems. Okay, so this is promoting unhealthy eating habits.
You're
which
stigmatizing.
You're
stigmatizing this don't ask, don't tell culture. I like this argument that she makes, that sort of don't ask, don't tell culture with the medical professionals in her life. Like they just want her to go home and lop off one of those lamb chops she calls an arm because that will reduce her overall body weight. Now, I don't think that's what they're really getting at, but Virgie Tover is happy in her bigger body, and she wants you to be as happy as Chris Christie or Jelly Belly Pritzker, too. What's so wrong with that?
She's working with the San Francisco Department of Public Health.
Yes.
To do what exactly? Just to promote that she's fat and it's okay to be fat.
Yes, to remove the stigma associated. You use that fat word.
Oh.
To remove the stigma associated with being a human being in a bigger body. That's how we talk about it.
Well, I mean, we have been celebrating large women on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit.
Those aren't
magazine.
women.
Okay. And then we've, commercials, PSA, public service announcements. That's probably going to come next. But if it's so good to be fat, why is everybody on Ozempic and generic versions of Ozempic?
Because they have bought into society's pressure to conform to achieving the glamour Elle magazine, Men's Health cover model type of physique, and you need to just stop. You need to have that second piece of cheesecake if you want it. You need to embrace your bigger body and love yourself so that you may love others, as Whitney Houston taught us. That's the greatest love of all.
Yeah. I mean, people need to Google. I mean, I just see for yourselves. And I have fat friends, Dan. Oh, God, this is really getting bad.
I have a fat friend. I mean, the classic line of the bigot.
I'm just saying there are people in my life who are not skinny.
Do you stigmatize them?
No.
You are right now. You're calling them out for being.
No, I'm not calling them out.
They're probably feeling shame.
No, they're not taking taxpayer dollars to promote obesity.
Well, she's an advocate. Okay. She's authored a book. She's authored a book. She's an expert, and she's bringing her expertise in eliminating stigma associated with bigger bodies to benefit the entire San Francisco community. Couldn't we use that in Chicago?
I'm sure it's coming here.
Wouldn't that be part of building a
better, stronger,
bigger, better, stronger Chicago?
You know who's lost weight? Brandon Johnson's lost weight. Trump has lost a lot of weight. And our First Lady of Illinois has lost a tremendous amount of weight.
Well, it's okay if you...
And I wonder who's on Ozempic. Raise your hand.
I'm sure if we could speak to Virgie Tover, if she'd put that eclair down for 5 minutes, and we could talk to her, she would say, well, it's fine if that's what people choose, but I'm choosing to embrace my bigger body, and I want society's validation for that. And why doesn't she deserve said validation?
I know Pritzker's not going to lose any weight. The big guy. So I'm sure he could be the waist, or what do you call it? The weight stigma and weight neutrality.
The weight stigma czar.
Yeah.
I mean, we should have, that should definitely be included in those signs that, populate the lawns of Napervillians and Hinsdalians too. No person is illegal. Love is love.
Embrace the fat.
Yeah.
Why not go there?
Right. No human's body is not beautiful. I don't know. We're going to have to workshop the saying there, sloganeering.
312-642-5600. You could also text us.
Don in Bloomingdale.
Amy, Ozempic is sold last year. It's Lizzo this year.
Oh my God, Lizzo! Have you seen Lizzo? Holy cow! She lost at least 200 pounds. She's taking Ozempic. Google that, Dan. You're gonna be like, who's that?
I'd prefer not to.
Okay.
Perry and Niles.
Oh, good morning. I got your reference there with the Whitney Houston, but I want to mention that also in the very same song, she says, I decided long ago not to walk in anyone's shadow.
Right.
Which means she absolutely refuses to stand next to a fat person.
Hi-oh. Thanks for the call, Barry. If I fail, if I succeed.
Oh, yeah. No Maha in San Francisco, somebody texted in. Make America healthy again.
Carrie in Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I thought I'd weigh in on this.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did. I don't understand how we've become so so self-focused that everyone has to scream about everything. Their weight, their abortion, their this, their that. Why don't you just lose the weight because your doctor said to and just move on? I don't get it. And please, I wish we could do a study on these people who are on Ozempic. Are they really happy after they lose the weight? I am convinced that there's an underlying issue. I look at overweight people. I seriously am so sensitive to overweight people because I'm like, there's something going on. There's a reason why you're eating a dozen donuts. It's not just because you love food. I love food. But, I mean, it's just...
But also, too, it's genetics.
Well, no, and I get that...
It's a glandular problem. Yeah, it's a glandular problem. Like glands in your ass.
A dozen donuts is a glandular problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Our governor, guys, remember when he was
Thanks, Carrie.
running again for re-election, Marianne Ahern.
He wasn't running, I'll tell you that.
He bought $892 worth of fudge. Who goes into a fudge store and buys almost $1,000 worth of fudge? Our governor does. That's who. And
You got to feed that engine if you want it to run, baby.
He handed it out to his staff. Yeah, right. I didn't see that video.
That was for home use, him and MK. Role playing. Deborah in Arlington Heights.
Look her up, too.
Good morning. This is such a big issue.
Oh, boy. Come on. Come on.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm
terrible.
sorry. It's a very big issue, and it's very complex. She lost me at, like, the doctor tells her to, like, no matter what, you just lose weight any way you possibly can. No responsible doctor would do that. Let's talk about the list of things this causes problems for you with, like diabetes type 2, joint problems when you're carrying around that much weight. Like, the list is endless of health issues. And, you know, to say that, well, you're a beautiful person inside, you probably are. But you have an issue that you have to deal with. It's a health issue.
Well, you've got to, for the, you know, if you put a little too much pressure on the joints, like Jelly Belly is wont to do.
He broke a femur standing at the state fair.
Well, that's what rascals
cry for help.
That's what rascals are for. You know, we got an app for that, so to speak.
I take back what I said for Lizzo. I'm looking at pictures of her now.
Didn't lose 200 pounds. Fake news.
Fake news. She just lost 100, but she's still very big. But she likes being big, so that works for her.
She has the right to remain fat.
Just don't shove it down my throat. I don't have to celebrate anybody's sexuality, and I don't have to celebrate anybody's obesity.
Jim in Crown Point.
You know, I have a question. At what point, when you go up in your dress size or pant size, that you realize you have a problem? I mean, it's unbelievable. People are are delusional. I made a point to make my kids aware of not to gain weight. They're all thin. I'm thin. My wife's thin. It's an example. And as Ozempic, I've been studying it a lot. People have no idea what it's doing to their gut health. It's destroying it.
Yep.
It's amazing. And then they all get the skeleton face. You know who's on it. You can look at them. It's like they had a facelift.
No, they look like aliens.
Thanks for the call,
Their head
Jim.
is bigger than their body because they weren't supposed to look like that. But yeah, I have a skinny biatch on my neighborhood who's taken Ozempic, and now she's addicted and went to a fancy restaurant, was in 2 bites before she was running to the bathroom getting sick.
You get big heads and small, so it's like a reverse Zika.
Yeah.
You get the reverse
Ozempic
Beetlejuice?
face? Yeah, it's really weird, bizarre.
Owen in Willowbrook.
Hey, Dan, Harry Carey used to use a big line when, like, Frank Howard or Boo Polly used to go up the bat, we could apply it to Jelly Belly. He'd say, here's Boo Polly. He's too big to be a man, too small to be a horse.
Wow.
Mike in Columbia, Tennessee.
Greetings. So I'm a brand new grandfather, and I'm having to watch all these kids shows. And I can think of some brand new episodes for Teletubbies that would be great.
Oh,
All
that's
right,
right.
Mike.
Yeah. Got a text message, Dan and Amy. It was the crack that kept Whitney Houston skinny. Okay.
Yeah, that's Bobby Brown. Introduced that, right? Isn't
he
Bobby
got
Brown
her.
responsible for her addiction?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're supposed to believe?
Weight hate has no home here, Dan and Amy.
Weight hate has no home here. That's pretty good.
Ron
That's
in
good
St.
for
Charles.
signage.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ron.
Yeah. No, those signs should start popping up. Joe in East Dundee.
Yeah, Dan and Amy. I had a 300-pound aunt that died early. She was like 60. And, the fat shaming, a lot of people eat out of boredom and stuff like that. But, being long and lean, it's easier for you to lose weight than other people. I am not fat. I have a gut on me.
Well, most men do.
My arms are thin. Well, my whole point is...
Tell us more about your body, Joe.
Shaming people is not the right way to do it.
No, of course not. I mean, that's why I'm rallying to the defense of Virgie Tover. Yeah, sure, healthy and exercise, and then Jim Fixx, the great runner, dies of a heart attack while jogging.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I'm with Virgie Tover. I just want, I want parity. I want weight stigmas are here. I mean, this is the identitarian base camp. How do we not have a weight stigma czar in Chicago? Maybe next time you go to a BLM Brandon presser, you can, or even better, a Jelly Belly presser, you can raise that issue, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you can even nominate yourself.
Oh, yeah, right.
And do a little penance for your weight hate.
It was just so sad, and I just have to say this because during COVID, I watched, I was in those press conferences pretty much every day, and his staff got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was so sad.
More to love. More to love of the Pritzker administration. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
I want Christmas. Just give me plain baby Jesus lying in a manger Christmas.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally, too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Sean Thompson here to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign. We've partnered with Food for the Poor once again to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're talking about a part of the world that continues to suffer from the effects of economic destruction and decline, political corruption, instability, gangs, high prices for food. Families are forced to skip meals for days at a time because they simply can't afford to buy food. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners. Food for the Poor needs your help. Right now, thanks to a generous match. For a one-time gift of $100, you can provide life-saving food for 2 children for an entire year. And it helps their community to gain access to water, or consider a gift of giving $200, which would provide life-saving food for 4 children for the entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673 or go to 560theanswer.com. Just simply click on the Give Life banner at the top of the website.
AM 560, The Answer.
Text from 773. Ironically, celebrating fatness thins the herd.
Oh, hey-oh. Another
Hey-o.
text message, Dan and Amy. I've had several more morbidly obese friends. Sadly, all have died. Sad face, sad face, sad face emoji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I've had some skinny friends who've passed away, though, too.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody meets their maker.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, still, I'm still a proponent of the weight stigma czar. You have not persuaded me otherwise. Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk pardons and prosecutions with His Eminence, Law Professor Richard Epstein. That's 8:08.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Advocate Healthcare to expand on the south side. The Kennedy Expressway, express lanes, and reversibles will not reopen until January. Cubs trade Cody Bellinger to the Yankees, and the Blackhawks rally past the Capitals. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
It's kind of a Christmas time tradition at the Capitol. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. Congressional leaders say they've agreed on a short-term spending bill to prevent a partial government shutdown Saturday just before the holidays. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Fox and Friends.
It's a short-term funding extension until March 14, and that would have been an easy thing relatively to pass. But here's what happened. We also had to add, and due to circumstances outside of any of our control, emergency funding.
There's $100 billion in aid to help with recovery from Hurricanes Milton and Helene and other disasters. Some House Republicans say they don't like the agreement, what's in it, or how it was reached without their input. A vigil's held outside the state capitol in Madison, Wisconsin, for the teacher and student killed in a shooting at a small Christian school Monday.
It is okay to not be okay right now.
Madison Mayor Sata Rhodes Conway.
It is okay to be scared, to be hurting, to be worried about yourself, your kids, your family.
Police say they don't have a definitive motive for why a 15-year-old girl shot 8 people before killing herself. Of the 6 people wounded, 2 are said to be in critical condition. 1 person is dead, 9 hospitalized in a shooting and fiery crash in Towson, Maryland.
Gunshots were reported near where a car crashed outside a funeral home that was closed at the time. Few details have been given about the circumstances surrounding the shooting, but Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough says he believes it was an isolated incident.
The individuals in this case somehow knew one another, and that this incident was intentional and targeted.
It's not yet clear whether those who were injured were shot, and their conditions are unknown. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
A suspect in a general's assassination is detained in Russia, accused of being recruited by Ukraine to plant the bomb. America's listening to Fox News.
.32 degrees, partly cloudy skies at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer, good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Corcoran and his attorneys made one last pitch to delay the execution just before midnight.
We would ask the governor to grant clemency to Joe Corcoran. He has schizophrenia. He's seriously mentally ill. The states surrounding Indiana either don't allow for execution at all, or they bar the execution of people with serious mental illness.
Corcoran was pronounced dead at 12:45 this morning. Officials say the execution process started just after midnight. Right now, there are 7 other prisoners currently on death row in Indiana. Cook County's former top prosecutor has lost her license to practice law. The Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission says Kim Fox's law license was suspended on December 1, primarily because she failed to complete continuing legal education requirements. Demolition underway on the near south side on a building that previously housed the E2 nightclub, where 21 died in a stampede in 2003.
This is also a part of Chicago's history, and we feel like these 21 lives should be honored.
The property along the city's historic and protected motor row has been vacant since the tragedy at the E2 nightclub. Blackhawks 3-2 winners over the Capitals at the UC last night. Cubs send Cody Bellinger to the Bronx in a trade with the Yankees. College basketball, DePaul beaten by St. John's 89-61. The news, a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. Crosscom Public Adjusters. .com. 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The Federal Reserve's meeting wraps up today with the Fed expected to lower interest rates by 0.25%. Reuters says the Fed is likely to deliver a hawkish message, suggesting they will be more cautious in coming months. Foxconn, the Taiwan-based tech company best known for assembling Apple products, says it has been discussing buying Nissan. The news comes as Honda and Nissan work on expanding their partnership, possibly merging. Foxconn is said to be interested in Nissan's car hardware, manufacturing, and design. Today marks a year since the proposed merger of Nippon and U.S. Steel. The Wall Street Journal says time is running out for the deal. The Biden administration and incoming Trump administration both oppose the merger. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Cosola, invested in you.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and by Valdecast Windows and Doors. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Trump's victory doesn't mean our financial worries are over. Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. Washington's spending addiction still threatens your savings. That's why I recommend gold IRAs from my friends at Birch Gold Group. These accounts protect your retirement from government mismanagement. For a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word SHELTER to 989898. Don't wait. Text SHELTER to the number 989898 now for your free kit from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
I knew there had to be a better way to get relief from joint pain aside from surgery and harmful medications.
That's football legend and dancing champ Emmitt Smith, who knows a thing or two about joint pain.
Turns out I was right. It's called QC Kinetics, and now tens of thousands of patients and counting all across the country, they're feeling amazing. They say, hey, Emmitt, you were right.
QC Kinetics zeroed in on a technology that is revolutionizing pain treatment. They are transforming patients' lives. The largest provider of non-surgical regenerative treatments using natural healing properties to help restore and repair aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs. Call them today for your free consultation.
QC Kinetics. I knew there had to be a better way. I love it when I'm right.
QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
When they say free, they really mean check the fine print. They say free iPhone, but only if you trade in your $1,000 phone, pay $100 a month for unlimited data, and also a $35 activation fee. Now, Pure Talk, they have a better option. You'll get a brand new iPhone 14 with unlimited talk, text, 15 gigabytes of data, mobile hotspot for just $50 a month. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation welcomed U.S. Army Specialist Brent Menard into a new mortgage-free smart home in Florida. Now, while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brent's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. Brent became a T4 paraplegic. Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows severely injured heroes like Brett to live more independently. We hope you'll donate $11 a month so this great work can continue. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. Make your quick delivery service personal ground crew yours anytime, anywhere, any place. When you need to move your shipment or freight, Quick Delivery will get it there. Get a quote in advance and eliminate any surprises at quickdelivery.com. The Kennedy at 95 minutes now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Tough sledding on the I coming inbound. It's an hour and 20, 390 into the old post office. Stop and go on the inbound Dan Ryan, 38 minutes, 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Let's get the latest with Steve Williams.
A few flurries this morning, otherwise clouds and breezy. A couple of slick spots early, high today 35. Cloudy tonight, low 25. Partly sunny day tomorrow, the high at 34. Clouds, snow, and flurries with little or no accumulation on Friday, the high 33. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
We'll call it partly to mostly sunny and 32 right now at O'Hare, 34 at Midway. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by IDT. Eliminate paper files with the IoT Smart Connected Scanning Device. Find them at ready4idt.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer
Merry Christmas.
on AM 560.
Ho, ho, ho.
The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to matters of pardons and prosecutions, I did want to set up our next guest with a question about the academy, colleges and universities. Joel Kotkin had an interesting piece in Spiked Online. Kotkin is academic at Chapman University in California. 78% of professors in America voted for Kamala Harris. The University of California at Berkeley blames Trump's rise on racism and sexism. Wesleyan University President Michael Roth calls on universities to abandon, quote, institutional neutrality, unquote, for activism in the Trump era, predictably comparing neutral professors to those who accommodated the Nazis. We know the story of the distribution of viewpoints on campus. By 2017, 60% of the faculty on college campuses identified either as far left or liberal, compared to 12% as conservative, so 5 to 1. That has increased. The ratio of liberal faculty to conservative more than doubled. And this was occurring as America was actually getting slightly more conservative. We know about the disgusting hatred that is fomented on college campuses, particularly over the last year and a half, anti-Semitism. We also see these numbers, an Emerson survey that came out yesterday, I believe, on the assassination, the cold-blooded killing of the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
18 to 29-year-olds, 41% said it was acceptable or somewhat acceptable. 40% said it wasn't. A plurality of 18 to 29-year-olds find shooting someone in the back over a policy disagreement in a public street acceptable.
What happened with just throwing pies in their face? Remember, like Bill Gates said that, and the CEO of Enron, people would throw pies in their face. Now it's escalated to murder.
Yeah, there's a lot of justifications for political violence or politically related violence, just as during the summer of 2020 and the rioting. Those weren't people looting. Those were people engaged in symbolic takings as an expression of revolt against oppression, don't you know?
Remember the black lady from BLM in Chicago saying, take it. You know, if you can take that stuff from Gucci, that's yours.
So this nihilism that is an increasing feature of our country, and I think arguably incubated and incubating in our alleged institutions of higher learning, I would think that would be an issue that deserves more attention than perhaps it's getting. Professor Richard Epstein is the James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law and Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thank you for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yes, why is it that you want to begin with such a cheery tone?
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Christmas is a week away.
Yeah, right. Yes, what you say is true and false. Let me kind of put it in a grim perspective. If you were to go back, say, 10 years where this stuff was beginning to boil up, you would say, in effect, that maybe, 0.5% of people on campus had those views. And now what happens is there's an epidemic, and maybe 2 to 3 times that happens. So you have to ask the half-empty, half-full question. To what extent the 1.5% of the students representative of everything that goes up on campus? And what happens is we know, because of people like you, rightly pointed to this stuff. And so these 1.5% get 95% of the attention. In the meantime, all the kids who are working in their labs and writing their theses and figuring out how to do constructive stuff are left to one side. So the tragedy is that the good kids are completely drowned out by the bad kids. Now, the other half of the problem is one that I think you're right. I grew up in 1960s and so forth, and there was a huge anti-Vietnam movement, if you remember, and so forth. And there was a shooting at Kent State, and there were all sorts of rebellions out there. But it was a big difference. In those days, it turns out the establishment inside was relatively conservative. It was the students on the outside who were a little crazy. And I could still remember the picture of one of the great academic geniuses of the mid-century, Clark Kerr, going in front of a rabble bunch of students in the early 1960s in a seersucker suit, wondering, what am I doing here and how am I supposed to deal with those kinds of people? Well, the problem that you have today is kind of a different one. It's the madmen are in the house. They're the ones who are running it. All the kids who were crazy 40 years ago are now in charge of a lot of these institutions, saying the kind of lame-brain remarks that the president of Wesleyan started to put out. And when you have those people on the inside, it becomes extremely difficult to figure out what you're supposed to do. So let me kind of give you a hint of what is happening, because most of us who are on the sort of libertarian, conservative, classical, liberal side, small government property rights side, think it's almost impossible to take over any of the institution in which these people are entrenched. And so what you see is people are starting to change this. So I'm going to become, as of next year, a member of Kiwatas, which is a new operation at the University of Texas, in a new school at the University of Texas, which is dominated by classical liberal types. There's no way you could take over the whole university, but what you could do if you have enlightened administrators is start an island and then grow the island and make it larger. And there are places like New College in Florida that are trying to do the same thing. Because what people have come to recognize is the establishment is just too bad. And the hope is that what you will do is that you're going to give grants to Harvard. You make sure that they go to a particular lab, not the general expenses. And then you note that at places like Harvard and Columbia and so forth and Yale, alumni contributions are way down. And it's the alumni are the only ones who can force it. Because if you remember, these are people who essentially, their average alumni is 20, 30, 40 years out of college, and they have a very different set of values. And they do it with their pocketbooks by saying not another dime ever for places like this unless they reform. And so I think the landscape is a little bit more scrambled than these statistics give you. And I think there was actually some ray of hope here, there, and the other place on the horizon. But the point that you made is essentially still a valid one. You cannot, if the only people who care about politics vote by, say, 89 or 90% for Democrats as opposed to Republicans, and then think that their mission is to make sure that the other 10% doesn't have a chance to speak, then these institutions are going to be garnered. And the issue is, well, what happened? Harvard is much better today than it was when Claudine Gay was president. That doesn't mean that it's good enough. Columbia, we don't know, because the old president quit because she couldn't move anybody, and the new president, well, we're going to have to see. So I think the answer is what the Trump administration can do, and what it should do, is to make sure that when it starts giving grants, it looks closely as to whether or not they're being used for acts of rebellion or for serious academic endeavors and research. And if you can change the federal grant culture, that's worth a lot. So one of the most important appointments is a good friend of mine named Jay Bhattacharya, who's going to take over the National Institutes of Health. That has a budget of around $50 billion. And, I mean, you could spend it all for doing research on transfer gender stuff and one thing or another, or you could go back to basic sciences. And what you have to do is to use the power of the grant to direct the money to things that are much more constructive than the things that you see today. And the difficulty, or the reason why it was so important that Kamala Harris lost, is she may be a personal cipher, but the people behind her are not. And they would just continue to accentuate the trend that was taking place beforehand. And if we had 4 more years of this kind of stuff, we would find it very, very uncomfortable to live in a world in which whenever you disagree with the government on any issue, you are guilty of misinformation told by a bunch of people who are largely illiterate about the very subject on which they wish to deal. So it's a tight battle, but I think the tug of war is moving slowly, not inexorably, but slowly in the right direction.
Let's turn our attention to legal matters, starting with the decision this week by Judge Merchan in Manhattan to not dismiss the case against President Trump under a claim that the Supreme Court's decision in the presidential immunities case would obviate the verdict in his. So what happens with that case pending sentencing?
Well, what happens is it's going to go into abeyance. That is, there are 2 sorts of immunities that you have to have. And one of them is based upon presidential immunity for the acts that were done. And he said, not unreasonably, that if you are paying off somebody because of a marital dispute or a story of that, it's not associated with your official duties, even under the broad test of the United States Supreme Court. But there's a second element, which is every bit as important, which says that the president shall take care to see that the law be faithfully executed. And you cannot do that in jail. And so what has to happen is what Bragg wanted to do, which is to postpone this thing for at least 4 years until it's over. And then he says, I can go back and bring the case again. And the issue is, I'm not thrilled with that, because I think, in fact, that if you're in 4 years and you know that there's a sentence awaiting you after you get out, It's going to influence a lot of things that you say or do in the interim, for fear that somebody like Bragg, who's completely unscrupulous on this, will say, well, look, he was surely wrong back in 2012. Look at the things that he just said in 2027. And I think, in effect, you should just end it right now and just go. If he gets it, by the way, the verdict is very suspect. They stitch together a bunch of innocent acts and treat them as though they're one giant felony. This was something that the federal government refused to do before he got into office. There are real questions of whether or not Mershon is hopelessly compromised, because his own bias is pretty clear. And also, his daughter is a key operative in the Democratic Party. And that's close enough to say it throws suspicion on you. And the general rule when there's suspicion, as a matter of legal ethics, is if you are one out of 50 judges in that court, and there's some taint about you, why does anybody want to actually go so close to the line when he could recuse himself and they could give it to somebody who doesn't have any of these complications, which is what he should have done. And I think that argument can actually win by the time it gets to the court above him. So to call Trump a convicted felon, what they can say is there's a jury verdict against him, but it is not a final judgment in any sense of the word. And if you want to renew this stuff, it's going to take you at least another year or 2 or 3 in order to sort out the mess that was left behind. Now, this can go to the United States Supreme Court, and they could decide, quite reasonably, I think, that this thing just has to end because it is an indirect compromise, even if delayed, on what goes. I might add that in the civil case, if you remember, that was brought against Bill Clinton, they said, oh, you can't dismiss the case, it's civil. You can take discovery, but you just can't get a trial. It was a terrible mistake. When you have anybody who's in public office, you don't want to be put under examination or discovery or anywhere else. And so what happened is you get discovery, he says some things which are probably fraudulent or at least misleading, and then you get an impeachment trial. You don't need this. Any lawyer will tell you that discovery is every bit as dangerous as a trial. Mm-hmm. And when you got the case, it was Justice Stevens who ran it, and he's an antitrust litigator, and I don't think he had the slightest clue of how it is that ordinary people, when fraud is an issue and integrity is an issue, respond when they're given depositions. So he just made the wrong kind of decision. He should have postponed everything and said, what you can do is gather all the evidence that you want, put it into a file, we'll toll the statute of limitations, that is, we won't bar you by the statute of limitations. And then when it's all done, you can start the case at that particular time, knowing that there's a real temporal gap, but at least leaving the president free of the temptation to lie while he's sitting in a deposition, which if he does, the consequences of the lie are trivial about the affair. It's the way in which it disrupts the operation of the government for months. We do not want a president having that kind of burden on top of him. I said the same thing about Joe Biden. As you know, when I've been on this show before, I was not in favor of bringing an impeachment action against him. And now that he's gone, there is nothing he should do about his presidency. But I'm also against, at this particular time, given his obvious incompetence, of going after all the things which were highly dubious and probably illegal when he was out of office in the Trump years, essentially peddling influence of his son Hunter. I just don't think this country needs things like that. To give you yet another illustration, Netanyahu is running a war, and these morons are deciding to charge him with undue influence and seeking political support in 2012. Why is it that he has to spend half his day worrying about that when he has the Syrians, the Iranians, right, the Lebanese, Hezbollah, the Soviets, the Russians, rather? These guys are out there. That's what you want his attention on. So I'm a strong opponent of doing any kind of legal warfare with somebody who is in office, and I'm against it whether it's about acts that happened in office, before office, or strangely enough, even after office. I just don't think that it's worth the while. We have to have a rule of law. Everybody says that. It turns out there's absolutely no effective legal constraints on a prosecutor. So he can be above the rule of law, and it's extremely difficult to displace him. They have to bring elaborate proceedings for discipline. For the most part, they fail. And what we have to do is to get back to a more sensible culture on these kinds of issues and to do it in a bipartisan way. So I'm very much down on Washington. I think he's taking this case. I think most of his rulings were clearly wrong. And I think at this particular point, he's right on the technical stuff with respect to immunity, but wrong on everything else.
All right, Professor Epstein, I wanted to ask you about Donald Trump's lawsuit against Ann Stelzer. She's the pollster from the Des Moines Register, and he claims she rigged the Iowa polls to influence the 2024 election. But what are the damages? Because he handily won the election.
It's a form of defamation and election interference. So if you start looking at the consumer fraud statutes, they often say we have to deal with consumer irregularities, even if they don't result in harm, because if we don't deter those events that are basically harmless, we're going to get more of these events, and some of them will really cause harm. This is a very controversial proposition, and it also requires that she acted with malice aforethought, and I think that's rather difficult. What was striking about it is I remember seeing 3 points ahead in Iowa. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And, I mean, the actions that everybody else said was what she's doing is she's saying the Democrats are once, the Republicans might as well stay home, is the way in which it was being treated, not uncharitably. It will be thrown out as a case, I'm pretty sure. But her reputation, which was extremely high, has been tattered by just a colossal blunder. 16 points off, essentially a couple of days before an election. You got to be smoking something.
Yeah, well, it put her out of being the Des Moines Register pollster. So there's that. I wanted to get to something else too, and that's the with the criminal referral issued by the House Oversight Subcommittee yesterday on Liz Cheney, and based on what you said before, then I take it that you would be opposed to both a preemptive pardon of Liz Cheney as well as a criminal investigation into Liz Cheney for federal witness tampering, as suggested by that House committee report. Is that right?
Yeah, I just want to keep this whole thing going. I mean, there is a serious issue. If you go back and read the pardons clause, the issue is, can you issue a blanket pardon, which seems to be the statement that everybody else has. And now let me just read the clause and then explain to you what the difficulty is. The president shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment, right? Well, there's a word missing there, right? He shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses actually committed against the United States, offenses charged but not convicted against the United States, or for anything which we don't know whether or not it is or not an offense. And so the word reprieve only applies in those cases where somebody has already been convicted. And what you can do under those circumstances, the president can basically postpone the death sentence to get further examinations and so forth. But a reprieve cannot apply in any way, shape, or form for an offense that has not yet been committed. So you put the two things together. Why is it that the pardon power, which is very broad as it is, can be used to deal with things where there's no conviction? Well, a perfectly respectable argument is if the guy is now being charged and you know that you're going to let him go, spare everybody the pain of a trial and pardon him while the case is ongoing. But where do you get the power under this thing to give preemptive pardons for events that have never been charged? I just don't see it. People are worried about the pardon power being too broad, and it's certainly too broad if you say to Hunter Biden, well, they offer all sorts of things, but we don't know what they are. It says offenses against the United States. Well, there has to be something that was committed or charged at the very least. And in this case, all they're doing is giving blanket pardons out like the Christmas candies. And I don't think, in fact, that you can do that, actually.
Well, it's a persuasive argument, but it's been done in the case of Hunter Biden. It may be done in other cases.
No, that's wrong.
Well,
pardon. And what happens is somebody wants to charge him with something that was not listed amongst the previous offenses. They go to court to do it. He pleads the pardon as a defense, and the court denies it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not over.
No.
Because, look.
Well, it's not prospective, but it's still preemptory. If there was anything covered still alive under the statute of limitations in any particular law that he had violated, then he's got the pardon in his back pocket.
Yes, but again, the statute of limitations in criminal fraud and tax cases is waived. So he can't plead that. And therefore what happens is he has to plead that the pardon is valid. And if you can't give preemptive pardons for events that have never been identified or charged, then the pardon does not reach that case and the prosecution can go forward. This is not the standard view, but as I was thinking about it, nobody reads reprieves and pardons as part of the same sentence. They just ignore the reprieve. But it
Yeah.
can only take place after conviction.
Well, just on the Liz Cheney thing, and this is more of a legal culture question because, you don't want this lawfare going back and forth and continuing to escalate. But by the same token, I mean, if you just ignore that criminal referral on Liz Cheney and say, well, we just don't want to go back. She was a member of Congress. We don't want to go back and relitigate. If you don't punish people legitimately, where there's legitimate basis to do a criminal investigation, and you don't hold anybody accountable for potential breaches of criminal law, then you encourage the other side that was the preemptive practitioner of lawfare to do so again next time they have the opportunity.
Well, I think that's half right, which is why this is a hard question. But remember, what happened to Liz Cheney? She went back home and she got walloped. She lost her political career over this. And remember, this was a woman with a very promising career going forward. She was my student, in fact. And, even when she was a young woman, you could tell that she had a political instinct. And her political career is effectively over. So what happens is you have to weigh against the thing that you mentioned, which is surely a valid consideration. The other consideration, which is the social and political sanctions, are so enormous. The question is it going to really make a difference if you're then subject to a prison to a criminal prosecution and put her in jail for 30 days? Or give a suspended sentence. I tend to think I'm against that. But here's the question that's really critical, and what you do. There's a huge amount of irregularities with Biden and son in the years between 2017 and 2021. And these are not protected in any way, shape, or form. And are they subject to criminal prosecution? My answer in that case is probably yes. But then you have the other problem. The guy who wanted to prosecute Biden said he's not competent to stand trial. And I certainly agree with that. I think he's a zombie at this particular point. Hunter is capable of standing trial. And so I would say the following thing. If what you're doing is not involved in an official investigation, like the January 6th committee, but is involved with your private activities that take place between it, I go back to what Judge Marshall said, and there's no immunity whatsoever associated with these things. And in this case, I do think that the criminal sanctions start to make sense. And, and if I'm right about what I said about the pardon power, it doesn't extend to events that go back to 2014 for Hunter Biden if they've never been charged or articulated. And statute of limitations is waived because of the fraud. And so it's a kind of delicate balance in one way or another. In general, I would rather not have people be sued for the irregularities in concert with their areas. Other situation that you can do with respect to judges, it won't happen with Marchand, is somebody can say, look, this guy should be subject to discipline because he's completely biased in the case. He has absolute immunity from suit, but he doesn't have immunity from discipline. And indeed, one of the reasons why we give people immunity from a lawsuit is that because we know the disciplinary sanction is there. Just as a general matter, there are very few areas that are more tricky than figuring out what immunities are with respect to people who have official jobs. And that's why there's so much complications here.
Professor Richard Epstein is the James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor, Emeritus of Law, Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thank you as always. Appreciate your time.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yep, have a good one. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
All right, now for something completely different. Mark Vansell, former sports writer for the Sun-Times, covering the Bulls. Remember when they were a basketball team? He's got a new book on Jordan. We're going to talk to him about it at 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's
8:34, 30 degrees. Israel and Hamas may be getting closer to a Gaza ceasefire deal. Reuters reporting just a few minutes ago that a Palestinian official is telling them mediators have narrowed gaps on most of the agreement's clauses. The outlet also reported CIA Director William Burns is set to take part in ceasefire talks. Madison, Wisconsin police chief says it's too soon to say what the motive of Monday's school shooter may have been. A candlelight vigil was held last night. Amy Fembick was a vigil organizer.
You read these things, and it's always happening somewhere else, but when it's in your own community, it just hits a little bit harder.
A teacher and a student at Abundant Life Christian School were killed. It appears the shooter, a 15-year-old girl, died as well from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A deal has been reached to avoid a government shutdown. Congress reaching an agreement Tuesday afternoon, pushing back the funding deadline from December 20th to March 14. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
It's a short-term funding extension until March 14, and that would have been an easy thing relatively to pass. But here's what happened. We also had to add, and due to circumstances outside of any of our control, emergency funding.
The bill includes more than $100 billion in disaster relief funding after Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Tactically, the decision buys time for the next Congress and incoming President Donald Trump to work out how the government should be funded for the incoming year. Police in Utah this morning say 5 family members were found dead in a home near Salt Lake City. 3 children were killed, ages 2, 9, and 11. Prosecutors appear close to resting their case in the Michael Madigan racketeering trial. Prosecutors had predicted they would wrap up their case yesterday. But only then the judge sent jurors home early after former state representative Eddie Acevedo took the stand. Joseph Corcoran was executed early this morning at the Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. According to the Indiana Department of Corrections, Corcoran was pronounced dead at 12:45. Officials say the execution process started just after midnight. Blackhawks score 3 in the third and a comeback 3-2 win over the Capitals at the United Center. Cubs part ways with Cody Bellinger, sending him and his $27.5 million contract hit next season to the Yankees for right-hander Cody Petit. Bulls take on the Celtics tomorrow night. College basketball last night, DePaul beaten by St. John's. The news, a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 23rd on their Lost Christmas Tour 2024. AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the All-State Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor, or just click on the Give Life banner.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Balance of Nature makes a difference in my well-being and how I feel and everything. It's true. It makes a difference. If you take Balance of Nature, you have a happy day because you just feel a little better. It's like a restaurant in New Orleans. Her famous saying was, when you come to our restaurant, you leave a little happier than when you got here. And that's what Balance of Nature does. It lets your day be a little happier than it would be without the Balance of Nature.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, it's time to make it a priority. Priority Gold. Trust our team of proven professionals to help you diversify your savings with gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/gold for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings, no matter what the economic climate. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit PriorityGold.com/gold to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD.
841. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. This update is service of Lowe's. New deals dropping on last-minute gifts at Lowe's right now. Your choice, a Cobalt 8-piece standard or metric ratchet wrench for just $39.98. That's a $60 savings, valid 12/19 through Christmas Day, 12/25. While supplies last, selection varies by location. One major trouble spot this morning, Edens on the inbound side right at Oakton. Report of an accident there, being swept out of your way, but still delays. And right now, it is an hour and 40 minutes on the inbound Kennedy from O'Hare into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Morning flurries, a bit of sun, then cloudy later on in the day. Breezy, high 35. Clouds and 25 overnight. Clouds and sun, 34 tomorrow. Partly cloudy and 30 degrees right now at O'Hare, 32 at Midway, 29 in Aurora. And your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is a really interesting book. Michael Jordan is the tease here, but this book by Mark Vansel is about much more than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is an example of some of the larger questions that he poses about excellence, and not just excellence in basketball. And frankly, it goes beyond excellence to how people who achieve iconic status, what separates them from people who are perhaps equally talented, perhaps put in an equal amount of effort, work. Why Jordan, and why other icons in any and every discipline or human endeavor? It's really interesting. Mark Vansel is a former sports writer for the Sun-Times covering the Chicago Bulls. He did so from 82 to 87. He's also the author of Rare Air, Michael on Michael, which was a New York Times bestseller. This new book that I'm referencing is entitled The Last Excellent Man, The Meaning of Our Jordan Year. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So what is our Jordan year to start?
Well, at the end of 2022, we identified through, I run this other business, which is business intelligence, and it was sort of the end of an epoch. So if you think of it as the long-running trends were about to reverse, 40 years of rising bond prices, interest rates going down, no wars in Europe to speak of, especially anything remotely close to World War II, and a one-time demographic shift that's never had happened before in the history of modern man. So,
what demographic shift is that?
Well, you have people, almost every country in the world is getting old at the same time. And a compounding factor with that is the fertility rates are crashing all over the world. For various
Western
reasons.
world.
Well, actually, the entire world. China, South Korea, Russia for sure, and definitely, you're right, definitely the Western world.
But don't you believe that's in part because women are waiting longer to have children?
And the same number of children. So that's the fertility rate number.
Yeah.
You know, when you see, right, I think it's, gosh, what did I see? In London in 2023, I mean, they call it a baby desert. 0.55 children were born to every woman in London.
Right. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far. I just wanted to have you stipulate and then so then pull back for us and get to that Jordan year concept.
Yeah. So the idea of the Jordan year is funny. I didn't even know about it, and my daughter, who turned 23, said, "Yeah, hey, Dad, this is my Jordan year." And so here's somebody who never saw him play. Now, of course, since I've been around him, would have been familiar. But there's a whole generation of people that never saw him on a basketball court and yet feel an affinity and connection. And so I was curious about that. And so our Jordan year was 2023, go by the number. And it was Michael's 60th birthday year. And it was an incredible year for him. Set all kinds of records with mementos and things that he sold, or not that he sold, that other people did. And the world around us was changing. So that's the idea behind that.
And so the discussion in the book, or the discussion that punctuates the book, in part about icons like Jordan, and it's always a fascinating. It's fascinating to watch the can't miss stars that miss, and the people that come out of nowhere and become stars, and then even perhaps in some instances become icons like Jordan is. I mean that the analysis of that.
Yeah, I don't. I like a lot of people. I don't buy the idea of natural talent, God-given talent, as being the determinant. In Jordan's case, you have, my God, thousands of hours of video, millions of words written about him, and because I've spent an inordinate amount of time around him, I've always wondered why him. Why is it this guy? Because if you can compare him to other NBA players, for example, in terms of physical attributes, and it's not like he was, completely off the charts compared to everybody else in his ability to jump, shoot, etc. And so what I sort of came around, and I looked at a lot of people. I spent a lot of time with Mario Andretti. I spent some time around the Johnny Cash people. I spent a bunch of people who achieved, and I observed a bunch of people who achieved way outside the norm. And what I concluded was that these people, if you want to think of it as a natural gift, it's that they are present all the time. So, there are people who go and sit in ashrams on the other side of the world trying to get to where these people were naturally. And I refer to it in the book as the God within. We spend a lot of time, if you read the myths, we spend a lot of time looking outside ourselves for God or whatever God people are searching for. When in reality, the myths tell us to go inside. And I just think these people, Jordan, Andretti, Taylor Swift, for example, there's a bunch of people who knew something about themselves completely that the people around them and closest to them didn't know until it was exposed.
Yes, I mean it's you're trying to get your arms around this. Something that is referenced is this what the CIA called the reduced Q analysis, and so explain the application of that to this why him question that you pose.
So that's what we use in this business intelligence work, and what we're looking for are anomalies. And to the degree you can identify anomalies, and they form a pattern, you can draw an inference from them. So you look at Jordan, like kind of what I was just saying, Dan. You look at him and look what he did, and he did it as the pressure ramped up, year after year after year, and that in and of itself is an anomaly. And so from that, we looked at that. Okay, what can we infer from that? I always use this one player that tells you how old I am, but Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah, sure. Human highlight reel.
Exactly. But if you think about it, what couldn't Dominique Wilkins do that Michael Jordan could do? They're physical twins, kind of, and yet you wouldn't use them in the same sentence. Great player, but not the greatest player.
And so I mean, sorry to interrupt, but that's a really interesting comparison because I was a huge Neek fan too. But so some might say, that you put your just like sports guy hat and you say, well, Wilkins never got the supporting cast around him that Jordan had, or he didn't have the triangle offense or Phil Jackson. But what you're saying is, and and again, this is not limited to basketball. You're saying that Michael Jordan knew he was Michael Jordan, that Bobby Zimmerman knew he was Bob Dylan in high school, that these people know I mean, I don't know if it's conscious or innate, your suggestion, but they know that they are iconic without they just know they're iconic in a sense.
I think, Dan, what they know is that they know something about themselves that is essential to who they are. And that sounds a little, simplistic, but, think about people who are in their 40s, 50s, still trying to figure out what I should do with my life and things like that. These people had no question. They just did it.
It's not like I wanted to. I wanted to be in the NBA from a young age. I wanted to be a poet from a young age. There was this certitude that they were going to be this thing, and it's obviously it's hard to measure, but that's the delta.
I think so, and I would also add one of the characteristics is absolute fearlessness.
Mm-hmm.
They're not nervous. They're not worried about, wow, am I going to make it? It's irrelevant. And that's unusual.
And again, this, I mean, just to provide some more runway here, I mean, you looked at this not just in the arts and entertainment world, but it could be, an impresario in the classroom, on a crab boat in the Bering Sea. I mean, it can be anything, any area of human endeavor.
Yes, and I think these people are all around us. Think of who were. The way I've sort of explained it to my kids and to others is be very conscious of who you are attracted to and why you're attracted to them. And we have all had, most people have had that one teacher that was just different from all the rest.
Uh-huh.
Or, my father was a mechanic, but he never got dirty. I could get dirty in 5 minutes going in his shop. He was a master. That's what he wanted to do his entire life. And so I think these people are all around us. And it doesn't mean you're Michael Jordan. It doesn't mean you're a billionaire. But those things are really irrelevant to the point of excellence.
No, Mark, do you still speak with Michael Jordan? And did he know that you were writing this book?
Or play golf with him for money?
The great thing about, yes, I do, Amy. He's a great guy. I don't play golf with him.
Smart.
Yeah.
The famous Jordan, how much you want to play for whatever makes you nervous, to your point about never being nervous.
Right. But he's a great guy, and especially under the circumstances of his life.
Mark Vansel is a former sports writer for the Sun-Times, covered the Bulls from 82 to 87. The author of the bestseller Rare Air, Michael on Michael. His new book, we were discussing, The Last Excellent Man, The Meaning of Our Jordan Year. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you. And he joined us. Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here.
On AM 560.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny Kaye.
The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson here to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign. We've partnered with Food for the Poor once again to provide life-saving food for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. We're talking about a part of the world that continues to suffer from the effects of economic destruction and decline, political corruption, instability, gangs, high prices for food. Families are forced to skip meals for days at a time because they simply can't afford to buy food. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners. Food for the Poor needs your help. Right now, thanks to a generous match, for a one-time gift of $100, you can provide life-saving food for 2 children for an entire year. And it helps their community to gain access to water, or consider a gift of giving $200, which would provide life-saving food for 4 children for the entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673 or go to 560theanswer.com. Just simply click on the Give Life banner at the top of the website.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-525-7718, 800-525-7718, 800-525-7718.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
AM 560, The Answer.
I guess we're going to have to translate Alien tomorrow, Dan, or maybe Friday. I don't know.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. All right, thanks to Justin Kosick, Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
The very latest on what's happening in the Middle East with Fox News. Advocate Healthcare expanding on the South Side, and the Blackhawks rally past the Capitals. WIND Chicago News Time, 9 o'clock.
No sense of danger. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. In his first public comments about it, President Biden says he does not think mysterious drone sightings are anything to worry about.
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out.
He says there are a lot of drones up there, and he thinks one was spotted, then everyone wanted to get in on it. Alabama Senate Republican Tommy Tuberville on Fox.
Are we going to do anything to it? Are we going to shoot it down? But it's obvious we have no answer, or the Biden administration has no answer. But sooner or later, hopefully before we go home for Christmas, they'll give us some kind of explanation in the Senate.
The first drone sighting was reported in New Jersey a month ago today. A House Republican report on the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot finds former House Republican Liz Cheney should face criminal investigation for witness tampering during a bipartisan investigation into the attack. Cheney calls the report a malicious and cowardly assault on the truth. There's an agreement among congressional leadership facing possible opposition from some House Republicans on a short-term spending bill that would prevent a partial government shutdown Saturday.
Some members are calling the bill that would extend government funding until March a Christmas tree due to the number of add-ons. One of the ornaments being praised by Maryland lawmakers includes funding to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge, struck by a cargo ship nearly 7 months ago. The bill text also includes funding for small business disaster loans, language on transparency and concert ticket pricing, and a provision allowing